Good afternoon, folks. This is Omar Serrato with the Tilted Lawyer podcast, and it's Thursday afternoon. In my brain, it feels like it's Wednesday, but what are you going to do? I'm tired, I'm cranky, I'm pissed. I have things to say. I, like all of you, have seen what Gingras said in his nonsensical, legal, bloviating rant. He dropped that word in his article. I used it right back at him. And Laura Owens' veiled threats in her blog post on medium.com. I have a lot of opinions about it. I am genuinely angry about it. I've had a hearing this morning that went pretty well, but look, I'm a real practicing attorney. I deal with these issues legitimately every day. I see how people weaponize the family court system every day. Just this morning, I have dozens of cases where I'm fighting this very issue, the issues that are relevant in the Laura Owens case. And so it affects me a specific kind of way. And so when I see what happened on June 10th and I see the response and I see the team of Gingras and Owens tripling down after he gave this I actually thought it was genuine when he wrote that, you know what, it's time for these crazy kids to just kind of move on with life. And, you know, he's going to accept the L and just move on and let Laura Owens heal from all of this. And instead, he issues a declaration of war. Clayton Echard may have won the battle, but the war is far from over, which is pretty much what he said, not verbatim, but he said that. So I have some thoughts. You know, the go live button in StreamYard is tricky. It tricks you. Like you have to literally click it and it says go live. You click the button, then it says, are you sure? And so that's how, like every single time, like 4 out of the last 5 times I've clicked that button, I started talking and then double checking. And oh shit. And again, I did it again this morning, or this afternoon rather. So folks, I got a lot to get to. Let's get started.
Whatever you might be going through and wherever you might be, this is Omar Serrato with the Tilted Lawyer podcast. I'm here to take your mind off of things. Yes, I'm an attorney. No, I'm not giving you legal advice. We're going to sit and talk like people, as these are the candid thoughts of one practicing attorney, and it's after hours. So have a seat. Feel free to have a drink and join me. Let's get started.
Hey, folks. Are you guys hearing me okay? Am I muted? I just pressed the mute button on my thing. I wanted to make sure that I'm not muted before I start going on my rant. I could hear myself just fine. I just need some confirmation from the audience that perfect. All right. I'm hoping to be joined by Laura Needy. Lauren, not Laura, Lauren. I got chastised in her chat about an hour ago. And they said the Tilted Lawyer loves to call her Laura. My apologies. It's Lauren. So I had a case. I got 2 beverages this afternoon. One of them is full of Woodford Reserve. The other one is my water and honey concoction. The whiskey is needed. It's unavoidable today. It has to happen. So I'm not going to talk about my case from this morning, but I've had lots of interesting conversations with people this morning regarding specifically this case and the way that what is coming out has affected, namely Mike Maricini and Greg Gillespie. I know the Clayton Echard, he just got his victory in trial. Apparently there's an appeal forthcoming. I think Gingras has about 90 days to do that. He's going to come up with something. And he wrote a blog post that I wanted to share with you. What was my opinion of Gingras going into this? When he was litigating and I observed him in court, he struck me as the kind of attorney that likes to talk a lot of shit and try to intimidate other attorneys or other parties into submission with his 20 years of experience and his 20-year specialist of internet law or whatever, and all the big cases that he's gone for. But when you actually go into the merits of what he has to say, it's just a whole lot of nothing. He's a guy that speaks loudly and carries a small stick. And indeed, with his very effete penis waving in the air, decided to write on his law office. That's not, I have no knowledge of that. That is a comedic statement, not meant for defamatory purposes. I have no knowledge of Mr. Gingras's member. He wrote an article saying post-trial update as he is vacationing, I think, in Italy. And he says, well, number one, he qualifies the article. Number one, make no mistake about that. There's three categories of people that he wrote this for. One is members of the Clayton Echard, I said it again, Echard personality cults. Said this article is not for you, but this article is exactly for them. Two, normal folks who are interested in law, lawsuits, legal procedure, and maybe reality TV, law dorks. Law school students, give me a break. It's not for them. This is for category number one. Judge Mata and her dad. Interesting that he would title or place Judge Mata and her dad in a specific separate category in an article where he has scathing reviews for Judge Mata's ability to marshal the evidence in this case and make her judicial opinion. But here we are. So he says this post is only for folks in category number two. He thinks that Judge Mata and her dad are reading. I don't think her dad is reading at all. I think that he was entertained by what was going on, this high profile case. Look at my daughter. I'm so proud. I got to go in and see her in action. This is the pinnacle of her career. I don't know if it's the pinnacle of her career, but it's the big case that everybody's talking about. And my daughter is sitting on the bench deciding all of it. I don't think that there's a father alive that wouldn't be proud of his daughter. And I don't think it matters whether or not he had a legal opinion. I think he was just there in support of his daughter. What do I know? I've been accused by many of you of not paying attention to my chats when I talk. Before I go any further, let me introduce the very lovely, lethal Lauren 904, who is in the backstage, the unflappable, the hardest working woman on YouTube. I don't know that to be a fact, but I know that she worked very hard in bringing a video feed to the family law trial of the century, shall we say? I don't know, but here she is. Welcome, Lauren.
Hey, what's up? I felt like I had a backstage pass for a minute.
Well, you kind of did.
Yeah.
You were the only one back there. So let me get to the rest of this article. I know that there's been, I know, Lauren, that you have gone through this article. I think you went through Laura's article. See, that's where I get crossed up. Every time I go on your stream, like you always lead it, the title is Laura Owens, and then your name is Robert.
Yeah.
And
no, it's okay. No worries.
It's like cognitive distance. It's cognitive distance. Then I'm reading it as Lauren.
You're close.
Pretty close enough. Charades and hand grenades, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So he says, let's get into it. About 24 hours ago, the court issued a ruling that was 99% favorable to Clayton for reasons that were legally valid. And here's why I'm so pissed off. Look, family law is its own thing. The evidence that's presented is this amalgamation of pleadings and declarations that gets compiled over many months of litigation. And then you have a trial where you get to talk about all of the most important things that you want the judge to know about. And at that point, that would have been the time to give your best evidence to prove that Laura Owens was pregnant. And what did they rely on? This one HCG test where the defense, Clayton Echard, he was the respondent in this case, had his own expert to explain why you can't rely on an HCG test. Laura Owens in her blog post states, the judge is relying on the 0.1% possibility that she was not pregnant. I don't think that 99.9%, and I said this in other streams, meant that she was 99.9% pregnant. I think that the other expert did a really good job of pointing out that you need a serial or a series of HCG results that would lead you to the conclusion that one is pregnant. All 99.9% means is that you have elevated HCG levels.
My other thing too with that was, so she had that mom doc record and was like, all this other stuff on this record is wrong. So how do you know that the record for the HCG level is right?
Well, when she admittedly altered virtually every single test for pregnancy that was presented in the court, admittedly to her. So here's why this post is ludicrous. I know that there's a lot of people freaking out about this. I have been in contact with Mike Maricini. I know that others that are involved in this case are worried about what Gingras and Owens are up to. I'm trying to hopefully give pause to those emotions because I think that this appeal is 100% bullshit. I'm going to explain why. Lauren, by the way, you are a psychologist?
No, I'm
A
a psychiatric evaluator, so I don't have
Cool.
to. I didn't have to go through the whole process of getting like a PhD or anything like that to do what I do. But I work in a hospital, like a medical hospital. People who are placed on involuntary holds, they come in with like the police, or they come in. They were sent by like EMS or something like that. I have to talk to them, kind of determine if they are like, is this person truly in like a crisis dire enough of like needing a bed in our psych unit? And then I
Did you
talk
give
to the
Laura Owens
doctors.
a bed?
No, I would not.
Well, shit.
Yeah. No, but she's a whole other thing. But yeah, no, the doctors sign off
Whole
on
other
it.
thing.
So I have a licensed physician who signs off on all my decisions. So it's not like you know, I don't
Hey,
have to.
so I've been accused many times of not reading the comments while I'm doing these shows. I'm
Is
new to this whole streaming thing. So let me just start off reading some of these. Okay, so hear me out. I love that name. $20. Thank you so much for that. With the logo. What is that logo? That's a cat with a mouse? Is that a mouse or a bow tie?
That's a
One of you
cat
know.
with the oh my gosh, I can't tell either. I'm like trying to look closer at the screen.
Says everybody please stop saying get help to Laura. It's not about her hurt feelings or sadness. At this point, I agree. Listen, I was very sympathetic to her at the start of all of this. And even afterwards, after the trial's like, look, okay, so you got your ass kicked in court. You're going to have to take the L on that one and deal with whatever consequences and hopefully get your life together. But now she's tripled down. And so
Mhm.
now gloves are off. It's like, okay, I understand the people not wanting to get Laura help. She's responsible for her own help, but she right now is responsible for perpetrating these veiled threats on other people in the case. The threats continue to loom and they continue to intimidate potential witnesses to future litigation. In my opinion, they blatantly engaged in witness tampering. They meaning Laura and Gingras, as it pertains to Mike Maricini, whom they had a protective order against, and there's concerns that whether or not she's going to try to forward something to the DA. To which my opinion is like, shit, go ahead. If you think that that's going to make you feel better, then go for it. If you think that's going to have any kind of effect whatsoever, be my guest. But I'm with, it's like, I didn't finish reading the quote. She clearly enjoys destroying people. What do you think about that opinion? Do you think that she's purposely trying to destroy people, or do you think that she's trying to put together some kind of puzzle that is broken within her inner conscience?
It comes off to me as like very much like revenge, like also like when you realize like first she tries the emotional manipulation thing to try to get people to like rope back into a relationship, and then when that doesn't work, it seems like if these guys like move on with their life, she's so angry and she tries to punish them almost.
I heard Megan Fox's interview with Maricini. I may or may not have him
Mm.
on tomorrow. I told him not to worry about it if he can't.
Oh, that's cool.
But I know he's probably making the rounds. I know he's probably sick of talking about this case, or maybe he wants to talk about it. I just gave him, well, it may or may not happen. We'll see.
Yeah.
But the way that he described her behavior on an airplane, where she was literally like crying, breaking out in tears,
Yeah.
like a child or a toddler, and then
Mhm.
the airplane staff is like, "What do we even do? This is an adult. We can't just give her like a plush
Oh, right? Yeah.
and the apple juice and tell her to knock it off."
Did anyone try that?
I mean, it would have been the move. You know, my assistant has a plush toy. She gave me this. She's off on vacation.
Oh.
But whenever it's this little thing, whenever she is complaining to me about something, I have this little thing for her.
Is it making a noise?
It is. It's making it's the
Is that a
tiniest
song?
violin in the world as she dabbles in her tears with her complaints.
That's awesome.
She's like, yeah, do you want a medal? Do you want me to say a prayer for you to get through your tough time? I think you just need to put on your big boy pants. I use a lot of culturally inappropriate, appropriate in the 90s, but not
I don't
appropriate
care
in the.
about that at all. It's fun.
Yeah,
So
I am just not of this generation. I'm very much of the 80s and 90s. But I digress. Continuing on. Hear me out again. Thanks again. Doubling down with the $10. And after jail, she needs lifetime internet monitoring by probation. I'm not sure if the crimes that she is charged with would allow for such a thing. But it's not the worst idea in the world. But I'd imagine a sentence like that would roll up against Eighth Amendment, Fourth Amendment protections. But I'm just a lawyer. I know nothing. All right. Jennifer, she's the one that jabbed me. She says, apologies for the jab about the Lauren confusion. Oh, you don't got to apologize. I took it in jest. It just made me laugh, and I made a funny comment too. I don't take anything seriously in life. You know, life, as Ellen Watts has said, was never meant to be serious. This is all a stage. We're just performing. We're here dancing to the music. Not
I should not
focusing
dance.
on the
No one should
final.
watch me dance.
Oh, you would
Any
be the
music.
best one to watch dance based on that statement. Give you a little whiskey
No,
and
fuck
get you with a microphone, get you a little karaoke.
I don't have
a
any
little,
whiskey. I have this shitty margarita though. So
It is a shitty margarita. If it's a pre-mixed from 7-Eleven, no less.
bottled from the grocery store,
$1.99.
yeah.
Oh, we got to get you some better alcohol. You got to make better decisions, Lauren.
Better
Oh.
decisions and alcohol don't really go together.
Arguably.
Yeah.
Grandma Ray. Hey, how you doing, Grandma Ray? She says, can the victims use her fraud to prevent any further extension of the PPLs? Yes, they can. Not only that, but I believe that there are grounds where they can have potentially the ones that are in existence reversed, and have a similar kind of thing happen if they make a finding that she made inconsistent or untrue or fraudulent statements to secure those extensions to the restraining order. I believe that there is room for further sanctions, not just for Eckert. Eckert is done and over with. I don't believe that she's going to prevail on appeal, but I think that Gillespie could potentially, if there's a finding of fraud, go after her for attorney fees and sanctions and cost. I think that Gillespie could do the same thing. I think the shameful part about it, not shameful as to them, but the tragic part about it is I think that they have been or are partially scared to go into action because of what fear they have that she might do, not just in litigation, but she, for all we know, might be like a psychopathic stalker.
Well, she's definitely a stalker, yeah.
Oh, you know, I got to tell you, as a guy, I've dated women before.
Mhm.
I've dated one woman that was approaching the level of a Laura Owens, but not near. I'm talking about Laura's here. She was like here.
How many babies was she having?
Oh, there was no babies, but there was definitely like.
Well, no babies here either.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we don't need protection. You know what? I don't even need to. Dominic, edit that out. Where's Dominic when I need him? But she would say stuff like, do
you still have Dominic?
No, he's coming back. He's coming back.
Okay.
Yeah, he got bored with his corporate job where they gave him no creative freedom. And he prefers this gig where he has complete 100% freedom. It's basically, hey, Dominic, if you think it's funny, use it. I have no sensibilities about what to censor. I really don't. Other than myself. And even that is lacking. But yeah, I've dated somebody that was borderline stalkerish. Like I broke up with her. She literally broke into my place and like went through a cell phone that I had and like was upset because I was texting a cousin of mine. Who is this? And like started like throwing stuff and just getting crazy. Like, hey, calm down. That level of crazy. But it never got to the level of what Laura's doing, which is trying to weaponize the court system by way of fraudulent paternity petition to achieve her means. And look, to be fair to that person, they moved on. It was a spell. It was around the time of law school, and law school, everybody's a little crazy. Everybody's a little nutty. Everybody's on edge. Everybody was, moving right along. Where was I at? Grandma Ray. Cages says $5. Oh, thank you so much. If you haven't seen the original, hit up Brad. The original what?
Oh yeah.
What is he talking about? The original has a
She
side by
edited
side
her
comparison
article,
of
I
one.
think, a bunch.
Oh, well, I guess
Yeah.
I'm going to be reading the edited version.
Yeah, I think
The
Brad
version
has it.
that I read was from yesterday. Somebody actually DM'd me. So if it's edited, just let me know, and I'll just go into my DMs and pull up the one that I was sent. And that way, we could all get through it together. Wendy says, Omar, take a deep breath. As frustrating as this is, don't let them bait you. Oh, I'm not baited. I am not baited. Look, I've been doing this a long time. I have certain ethical motivations in how I practice law. And I have clients that I care deeply about. And it just so happens to be the case that I'm the kind of attorney that when I engage with my clients, their issues, their fears, their concerns, their anxieties become mine. I can't help it. It's the reason why lawyers drink. Not that I drink excessively, but it's the reason why lawyers have, so many issues with substance abuse, because it's a hard freaking job. Being a lawyer is bad for your soul. And I have a lot of cases and clients who are going through not exactly to the T, but similar issues as Eckert. And I just, the fact that I had a hearing this morning and that I was hearing other stuff, it just kind of set me off. So I'm angry, but I'm angry in a not so serious kind of way. I'm just fed up. Gloves are off with these effing people.
I'll
And
try
that's
not
all I
to.
got.
I'll try not to swear on your stream too. Sorry.
Oh, if I'm swearing, you're allowed to swim, swear.
I mean, I could try.
I mean, you don't have to. I apologize if I'm offending with my language. I'll try to clean it up.
No, I'm way worse than you are. It's okay. I just don't want to get you demonetized or whatever with my language.
All my videos get demonetized lately. I can't help it.
Damn.
It's what it is. Taz, thank you so much for the 2. Says, hope you and your family had a wonderful vacation. Well, I'll say this. I had a wonderful vacation, but the vacation was littered with keeping my daughters alive, the 4 and 5-year-olds that were wanting to dive into riptides head first and trying to make sure they don't drown, and like cutting my legs up on these little glass lava rocks or whatever. And
Oh my god.
I got severely sunburned, not so severely, but I don't get out in the sun much. So I'm a light-skinned guy to begin with, and I'm probably darker than I've ever been in years. So that is what it is, but it was delightful. Mass Burn says, I'm a survivor, fight for the right thing, and we all stand for survivors of the survivors, male, female, all. I'm not sure if Massborn, and thank you for the 5, is a male or a female. But there is legitimately, and everybody has been brought to light with this Owens case. There are legitimate male victims. One of the first cases that really rocked my world as an attorney was when I was representing a young man. He was a sailor, Navy. He was accused of a SA by his girlfriend, and who was seeking a restraining order against him. Had that restraining order been granted, he would have lost his entire career. And right now, that young man is set to retire from the Navy on medical leave or whatever. He's going to be set up for the rest of his life with some kind of a pension. But at the time, it was similar to the Trevor Bauer case where, I kid you not, there was a sex list. So she accused him of SA by way of strangulation and all kinds of crazy stuff, and claimed that she had bruises and whatnot. They had literally made a sex list full of like 30 different things that they wanted to check off on their bucket list. And one of those things was forcible rape, strangulation, all of these other things. And so when I was cross-examining her, it's like, so what does it mean when you say, I wish to be forcibly graped? I said the R word, huh? I'm definitely getting demonetized now. And then her response was, well, it means that you have to pretend like I'm doing this against my will. Okay, well, give me an example. Let's just say you and him, you're in the bedroom. Step 1, tell me step 1, tell me step 2. And we go through this really uncomfortable, because like the judge is there, this kid's parents were in there, her parents were in there. These are young kids. I'm talking about 22, 21 years old. Apologize if I'm going off on a rant, but I've dealt with these cases before, and the allegations that women can make against men that are treated far differently if it was reverse genders. have real consequences, to the point where men risk not only losing their careers, but losing their freedoms off the basis of these. Because imagine it was reversed. Hey, she forcibly raped me and tried to strangle me. The judge would look at her as like, okay. And then if you brought out the fact that there was a sex list with a bucket list on it checked off, that would be an easy dismissal. But this one, the judge was on the fence. And he was on the fence because of the disparity of the size of the individuals in question, such as Owens v. Eckert, such as Owens v. Gillespie, such as Owens v. Maricini. So I'm very sensitive to these issues. How did I get started talking on this? I felt like I got started doing one thing, and then you came in, and then I started reading chats.
Well, yeah, when you read chats, it's like all bets are off. We're going wherever it takes us. So.
Yeah. Sabine Simone, I love that name. And thank you so much for the
I love
10.
that dog.
What kind of dog is that? I feel like that's
a cute fluffy one.
It's a miniature of a larger dog that I have. But she says, hello, tells on herself each time she accuses her victims of seeking revenge or lying or attempting to coerce. She's projecting her own behavior because it is what she would do. What is your opinion of that? Do you think she's projecting, or if she's just is something else?
Sorry, what was that? I was trying to type in the chat. I get distracted by the chat too.
I was going to let the awkward silence continue.
No, dude. Sorry, I was trying to talk to chat. What's up? You said.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Do you think that she's projecting something, or is it the result of something that's broken within her ability to communicate?
I mean, something's broken for sure, but no, it does seem like the things she's doing to other people, she accuses other people of doing to her almost. So like, I don't even know if that's projection. That might be like the opposite of projection, which is like, I don't know if there's a word for that.
The opposite of projection, deflection.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Would that be the opposite? I'm not good at word games.
Maybe. But yeah, no, she kind of. The stuff that she inflicts on other people, I guess, that she kind of takes it on herself when she's writing these posts and stuff like that. That's what it feels like to me.
Hi, that sounds very philosophical. Like, as an attorney, what would I even do with that if that was your testimony? Like, what am I using that to prove? I apologize. I'm in litigation mode right now. I'm trying my best to get out of it. Let me continue.
Okay, I'm in chat mode.
Okay, so hello. All right, so let's get into about 24 hours ago, the court issues a ruling. I should share my screen because it is the fashionable thing to do, I think.
That's what the kids say.
Reading something. All right, it's this one. Share. Is that big enough? Could everybody read that? Last time I tried this, people were complaining that it was
looks good to me, but you have to ask the chat.
Someone will say. You know what I'll do? I'll just do like this. Oh, that doesn't really help, does it? Here, get rid of that. And all right. So, is this a victory for Clayton? Has justice been served? Will Laura end up in jail? I'll answer those questions. Is it a victory for Clayton? Yes. Has justice been served? Yes. Will Laura end up in jail? Maybe. Am I embarrassed? Wouldn't it kick my ass in court? He very clearly is. The very fact that he put that in a published article tells me that he's been thinking a lot about it.
Did anyone actually directly ask that? Or?
He asked it himself. This is his internal monologue.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why is he putting that out there? Is like, have people actually been tweeting that at you, or are you just thinking it? Like,
I think he's thinking. I don't remember anybody saying that, but I've definitely been in trial where, I have lost and I felt like I got my ass kicked. And it's never as bad as it looks, and never as bad as it seems. But there's this feeling whenever you lose, no matter how close it is, that you just feel like you failed. And so I kind of know what he's going through. So I'm sympathetic until I get to like the next part. Anyway, he says this. First, Clayton has won a battle, but the war is not even close to over. I disagree with him. Second, I've been down this road many times. He says many times, and he cites one. And the one that he cites is not even remotely close to the case that we're talking about now. And I'll explain. He says, small victories, even huge ones, mean nothing if they are wrong and subject to reversal, which is true. But that means that he would have to argue that this decision was wrong and subject to reversal, which I just don't see grounds for that. He says, if you were told you won the lottery, all right, enough with analogies, buddy. Third, at the end of the day, the most important question that matters beyond all else is, was the judge's decision correct? Yes, I believe it was. So how are Laura and I feeling? Where do we go from here? I'm going to share some thoughts on both the past and the future. But before we get into that, I have to remind everyone that this is not my first rodeo. He's gonna what do you call it? Glamorize himself. He's gonna uptalk himself. What's the word?
Glamorize works for me.
All right, he's gonna glamorize his career. He's this experienced, war-ridden, riddled attorney. So for me, the most analogous past experience, my 5-year battle in Sarah Jones versus the dirty.com, which is a defamation case, it sounds like. I mentioned this case before, but to summarize, yeah, defamation case started in federal court in 2009, just like LO versus CE. The trial judge in Jones was exceptionally hostile to me. I don't remember a single instance where Judge Mata was hostile to anybody.
Yeah, me neither.
She reminds me of a judge who is in my jurisdiction in one of the courthouses that I practice the most, as being like the patron saint of judges. She's like Mother Teresa. She's like so nice and patient with everybody, and she doesn't yell, and she doesn't like say things just to, get one over on the attorneys. And she's very patient. She lets you get your arguments out and make them. I've never, in all of the hearings that were published online that I've watched, seen her be offhanded with any attorney, such as, for example, the Young Thug case, where that guy was literally thrown in jail for wanting to not disclose the source of how he learned about an illegal ex parte communication. But whatever. So right off the bat, Gingras is starting with a false premise. He's trying to approach this as if it was like this other case where maybe that happened. I just didn't see it here in this case. So it's categorically not like that other case. Second, he hated us right from the start. The judge insulted me, several pretrial rulings. I'd like to see examples. Claiming my legal arguments were completely frivolous. I've seen legal arguments. I've literally seen legal arguments that Gingras has made that were legally frivolous, such as, I'm going to have you arrested if you show up to the trial in which you were legally subpoenaed to be appearing at as a witness.
Right.
Where he engaged in borderline witness tampering, intimidation, which I'm not quite sure if it's not witness tampering or intimidation. That to me sounds like the highest form of witness intimidation. Show up, I'll have you arrested. How is that not witness intimidation? So I've seen him just on the very basis offer legal opinions that were frivolous in this case, where he was trying to argue that Gillespie cannot be present at a hearing where he was a listed witness in which he was subpoenaed, when there was a legally valid restraining order against the witness, which is categorically false because of a million reasons. And he can't point to a single case, I'm betting, and I don't know if there's a case in Arizona, but there's certainly not that I'm aware of in California where anybody has been thrown in jail for honoring a legal subpoena on the basis of it violated some kind of a court order. They don't even do that in murder trials.
Yeah, I've never heard of anything like that before, but I'm not a lawyer, so I always question a little bit. I'm like, this doesn't make sense, but
yeah,
is he right? I don't think so.
He's wrong. He's 100% wrong. I have not seen anybody co-sign on that legal theory. Gotcha. I've been practicing half as long as him, 10 years, not quite 20 years, almost 11 years.
MG Law says he violated some specific things there.
Oh. Hey, if MG Law wants to, is he in the chat? I'm in the wrong thing. I'm in the wrong thing. Not borderline and violent. Yeah. MG Law is like I really like his vibe, man. He's like this super chill lawyer. He's the kind of lawyer that I hate going up against in court, where it's just like super chill. He's got like one face. He's never going to get upset. He's never going to get mad. He's never going to get happy. You're never going to know what he's got like the perfect poker face. But he always knows this shit. He always knows all the statutes. I bet you he doesn't even practice in Arizona, and he's already citing Arizona law.
He always does his streams late enough that it's like a late night TV show or something for me. So I always put it on. I'm just like hanging out, relaxing after work or something. So that's always nice.
Hey, by the way, MG, if you want to jump on, just let me know, and I'll shoot you a link. Join the party. It'll be a lot of fun. But let me move on with this as I am dissecting. And I hate doing it like this. I don't like reading these things. I know this was done like a bunch of times yesterday. I'm pissed because of just what I've learned today that I'm not going to share right now because of things. So the case was tried to a jury twice. The first, I was talking about that old case, 338,000. The case doesn't even apply. It's not even the same thing. The issues were completely different in a 5-year trial. Maybe he won on appeal. That's fine. But the issues that he would raise on appeal there somehow just don't apply here. A civil case for defamation does not equate to a family law case for sanctions in a frivolous paternity petition. So he cites this interview from YouTube. Is this still on the screen? Am I?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. On the contrary, we hugged, high five. Okay. Once we got to court appeals, victories, good for you. So here's a video after he won the appeal, as he explained the CBS article. Okay. He's dancing around. He's celebrating. He's reliving one of his greatest career achievements, and good for him. But how does this apply here?
How long ago was that again?
2009, I think. So what does it put the end? Like 2014? I don't know the date on this YouTube video. I don't want to click on it because I don't want to leave off this article. But
yeah, I didn't watch that.
Yeah. So now, as for this week's decision, here are my initial thoughts and comments. We need to hold a competition for the person who spots the most factual errors in this ruling. Let's hold a competition for the person that spots the most contradictive statements from Laura Owens and see if they match up with the judge's factual errors. And the ones that he cites are so stupid. So I find it ironic that the very first finding that the ruling is completely wrong. Laura Owens petitioner filed a pro per petition to establish paternity on May 20th, 2023. And then he does the whole thing. Seriously, she can't even get the date right. Oh my God, what a rotten judge. This judge sucks. She's totally biased. She's not capable of. It's like GTFO with that. All right. So correct her on the date. Was a neutral issue when she made her judicial decision, I assure you. Does that mean the judges committed perjury, fraud? No, because she wasn't under oath, asshole. And it wasn't a fraudulent statement. It was minorly incorrect in something where everybody was aware of the procedural posture of the case. And no, the judge should not go to prison for that. It's not the same thing as pretending to be pregnant and altering stuff. So the judge simply misspoke and got the date wrong in the case with so many moving parts. This is understandable and contrary to what the insane clown JFC posse. You know what? Leave them out of this. This isn't about the JFC posse. This is about Gingras and Laura Owens and what she's attempted to do here and how it is so contrary to the standard ethics of humanity that a JFC posse even exists in the way that he wants to explain it. I call it the Dave Neal JFC cult of truth. He calls it JFC posse or scum posse or something.
Well, it depends on the day. Yeah. Drunk turtles, pond scum.
Yeah. I reject his argument, and this just seems a little vitriolic and amateurish of a statement to make, and is not a legally viable argument. So I personally can't even count the number of factual errors in the ruling. Count them. I would love for him to count. I hate when people say that, oh, there's this error and that error, and I could go on and on. My next question is like, well, then go on. What else were there? Oh, well, just there were so many things. Well, let's hear him. He's not going to. Well, I guess he's going to try. Let's see what he has to say. So in terms of our ability to win on appeal, one of the finest aspects of this ruling is this nugget. Here, the court finds petitioner provided false testimony as to the viability of the pregnancy in all three cases addressed in the procedural history. Wow, such a powerful statement. And the evidence received at trial to support that finding is, wait for it, keep waiting. That's right. Absolutely freaking nothing. Hey, Lauren, was it just me, or was there a whole expert that testified that you cannot verify pregnancy based on the evidence that was presented to this court or anybody else because it's all bullshit?
I actually don't think that's what they meant by that.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it's what they were trying to say. They had an opportunity. They tried to tell everybody that, oh, she was 99.9% positive for an HCG pregnancy test. Mm-hmm. And then the other expert says, no, you can't do it based off of that because of reasons. And then the judge is like, hey, so did you ever see all the stuff that Laura altered and all the stuff that, and it's like, well, no. And then the judge is like, okay, well, that's all I really need to know about that. And she believed one expert over the other, which means there was a whole line of testimony from a practicing expert that overruled his retired, adorable med show.
Well, he also, she didn't have any of her doctors that would testify on her behalf, so that says something to me.
Because they couldn't exist. And remember, it was, hey, we were trying to get your medical ultrasound records from what was it? Whatever, not Maricopa County, whatever county, Mission Viejo, and this other place. And then she's like, well, did you check Los Angeles? Like, no, dipshit, because you never disclosed ever in these entire proceedings that you ever had any kind of appointment for an ultrasound in Los Angeles County, except for the day of trial, which lends to credibility. And Lauren, let me tell you something about credibility in family law cases. Most of the time, we don't have this much evidence to support anything. It's usually he said versus.
You're right. Yeah.
Credibility is everything. And if you admit to doctoring evidence, if you make up shit on the day of trial, if you come to court and throw a temper tantrum because you can't see the hand signals that your attorney is making because they called you out on it and all this other stuff, and start fake crying on the stand, then you're going to be less credible than the other guy. That's
so
just
I don't know if you saw, but he was trying to change the story again in his like tweets recently. I don't know if it was today or yesterday or what, but they were trying to say like she had an appointment scheduled for July 2nd, but she emailed, Dr. Zeman or whatever, saying that she was seen last week. So they're trying to say now it was the week before. So I'm just like, dude, like just give it up, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't see those posts. I know there was Facebook posts. I haven't seen Facebook posts from this morning.
Yeah, Brad's got all the stuff.
I gotta talk to Brad. Maybe we should get him in here.
Do you want to? Because I can send him the link.
Get him in. Yeah, send him a link.
Okay.
If he wants to come in, the more the merrier.
Cool.
So that single error, this is what I can't believe Gingras says this. That single error virtually guarantees the ruling will not stand on appeal, which is such a nonsensical. Here's why I hate attorneys, man. I gotta tell you, Lauren, I'm an attorney. I've been one for a long time.
Yeah.
My least favorite people in the world are other attorneys. Most of them are cool. Honestly, most of them are cool. I don't like attorneys like Gingras because they say bullshit like this. And they have no accountability for what they say. They use their clouts and their position as an attorney to try to, I hate this term, but they try to gaslight people into thinking that there is a legally viable argument here. I bet you that people have read this statement that Gingras made and says that single error virtually guarantees the ruling will not stand on appeal. And I was like, based on what? Because I just, before I even read that sentence, identified an entire other witness who ran counter or that supported the statement, that finding that the judge made, which is the basis for why she made that ruling, not to mention credibility, not to mention the other stuff. But he's just, it's definitely getting.
Would you have had lunch with David Gingras or Gingras?
There's very few people in the world that I would not have a whiskey with after hours. I bet you, you know what? Here's what I think would happen if I had a whiskey with Gingras. It's like, hey, Gingras, so you're gonna win on appeal, huh? It's like, yeah. And then we all drink to it. No, I was like, hey, Gingras, how much is the retainer, man? I gotta know. How much are you getting for this one? 75,000, north of 100,000. Hey, hourly rates, right? Boom, cheers to that. And then we have a laugh. And then I feel like if we were drinking together, he would acknowledge that, yeah, this case is bullshit. I don't honestly believe that he believes what he's putting out there. There's no effing way that this guy, look, he's a smart guy. There's not a world where Gingras, listen, Gingras was a guy. He grew up, he became an attorney through whatever means. He had enough wherewithal to put himself through law school, to pass a bar, to have a successful 20-year
career, right?
Yeah, I think he's in multiple states. He's had an extraordinary career in law. He's at the point where he's in his later years in practice. He knows what he can get away with. He knows that you can say stupid shit like that, and people will believe you. And who's going to believe you? People are going to give you lots of money to it. There's just other attorneys out there that don't have the heart to lie to clients like that.
Yeah. I
would never say a thing like that to Laura. Laura would have never hired me because I would have told her, I would have made her settle. She's had several attorneys that have tried to make her settle. As I add the legendary, the illuminary, I'm making up words now. Illuminary, what does it even mean? IT goatee Brad to the stage. How you doing, Brad?
How's it going?
Good to see you, sir.
Thank you.
I was told that you have the goods on stuff.
Man, I've got goods everywhere.
Well, you don't need to tell. Hey, attorney-client privilege. Tell me about that one in private. Right. But yeah, let me continue with my rant. I'm not sure how much time I'm going to have left for Owens. So judge him on his own. This is what pisses me off about him. He goes in on the patron saint, Judge Mata. I don't say the patron saint, Judge Mata, as in she ruled in favor of Clayton Eckert. I mean that she had so much patience when she was conducting this trial, and I thought she did it with dignity, and I thought that she did a tremendous job for the circus that was handed to her. So, before I get to there, what is he talking about? That comes straight from Family Rule 6F, which provides for removal of the old judge after the case is remanded. That's if the case gets remanded for the grounds of which he stated. So if he's relying on that singular issue, which he's not, he's going to throw a bunch of shit against the wall and hope that something sticks.
Guys, what about Rule 26?
Hey, Omar, one thing. At the top of the comment section, there should be a thing that says hide comment. You've got the super chat hanging out. There we go.
Oh, thank you for that. See, that's why I need an IT guy. That's why I need Dominic here. He's coming back tomorrow, so I don't have to try to do this by myself.
No, you're good.
I see a bunch of super chats, and I promise I'm going to get to all of you. I also got to try to move this along because there's so much to get to. So Judge Mon has only been for a few years, and so far her track record is like a little schoolgirl. Not good. Here's a recent case where a decision of hers was tossed out and remanded after she... Wait for it. I hate he does this little... He's like the annoying little dorky frat boy that like wants to read the booklet in the game of life. He brings out the book of rules in Monopoly and says, hey, that was an illegal roll of the dice because it didn't travel 2 feet and roll at least 6 times per die. And it's like, get out of here, boy.
I never met a frat boy like that, but I don't know. Maybe I was looking in the wrong places.
Law school is a hell of a place.
Oh, okay.
I was just talking about law school the other day, and I'm like, what a crazy place it was. Lots of stories to share, but not today. So he talks about this case, and he references a case where she got remanded. And, fine, fair on that. But what does that have to do with this case?
Right.
And to be fair, I'm not reading that case because I just don't care.
I didn't either. Yeah.
So there is other anecdotal evidence to suggest Judge Mata has a history of doing things which would normally result in mistrial in any normal civil context. For example, according to her rule reviews on the rovingroom.com, where she currently has a rating of 2 stars out of 10, one former litigant claims the judge used Google. By the way, the roving room is where lawyers go to talk shit about attorneys when they're pissed off about decisions in their case. It's difficult, and by the way, I think that's pretty much also open to the general public.
It is. You don't have to register for anything. You just post whatever you want. And
what is it, like ratemyprofessor.com?
It's basically that without requirement for an account.
I've never really found them to be accurate. There's judges that I respect more than any other judge, and they have shitty reviews on the roving room. So it's not really an accurate source of where to go if you have a quality judge. I'm just going based off of her performance on what I saw and how she performed, and she performed brilliantly. Even if not brilliantly, certainly competently. And I thought that she was very fair to both sides. I didn't notice her doing what Gingras said about her being unfair to him and in any regard. She didn't like his evidence is what he's pissed off about, but that's not a reason for appeal. Either way, the fact that he's even citing the roving room as an argument to support his argument that is an appealable case tells me that he knows that this is going to get denied on appeal. I hope Laura knows that. And I hope she doesn't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on this in a losing loss.
She will. No, she'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah. But the fact that... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would say whatever Gingras says to Laura, she takes as gospel because, everyone wants to have that good faith that what their attorney is telling them is going to be accurate. But he's, as much as she's feeding him the horse manure, he's feeding it right back to her. And, whether he's doing it ethically or not is left to be seen.
Well, he's an enabler. I know that she's had multiple attorneys before him. And I know all of the attorneys that I know, myself, Ileana, my co-host on Fridays, would have told Laura, hey, you need to effing settle this case, man. What are you doing? You admit, I can't change the fact that you altered evidence and admitted it. How do you think that's going to play out in trial? If you want all this to stop, there's only one avenue out. You're going to have to admit some things and take the L. And she's like, bullshit, bar complaint. I'm finding another attorney. Yeah, and Gingras was like, yeah, I will sue the F out of him. My retainer is $150,000 and, or whatever he charges. I don't know.
And I'll add PR services for free.
Yeah.
Oh,
and Hell, throw those in at no additional charge.
That should be a discount rate for his PR services.
And then hilarious that after he finishes the trial, he F's off to freaking Florence, Italy, or wherever he is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
On the strength of probably Laura Owens or her parents funding his vacation, which, hey, more power to him, man, because I guess he earned that money.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just would not have the heart to tell Laura Owens that she has a shot on appeal on these grounds. I would find it unethical as an attorney to make such a statement. But there's plenty of attorneys out there that would do it. And when you find them, they usually sound like this guy waving his effete penis in the air with his loud words and his small stick. Not to be gross, but when I picture Gingras, that's what I picture.
There's two different ways to present it. There's because you always have the option for appeal, but the problem is it's going to require a lot of money because you either have to put up your bond and then pay the fees to start the appeal. It's going to take a long time, and you're going to be paying a ton more hours. So an attorney should, in theory, I'm not a lawyer, but should say, hey, we can go for this appeal. However, it may not turn out the way that you want, and you're going to be putting a significant amount of money on the line in order to try it.
Most of the time I tell my clients that, look, you could appeal it if you want to. You're gonna lose. Look, here's a standard. The judge got something legally wrong. They didn't. They just didn't. The judge unreasonably ruled based on the evidence in front of them. That's your best chance. But the judges usually have a ton of leeway in how they decide their cases. They have an incredible amount of discretion. And so if they base their decision based on evidence, so in other words, there was one expert that said that Laura Owens was pregnant, and there was another one that said that evidence was not reliable, and she picked one. She picked the one that she deemed to be the most reliable. She heard the testimony from Laura Owens, found her to not be credible based on her behavior, her misstatements, and her admitted doctoring of evidence, versus Clayton, who she did not have similar findings, and found Clayton to be more reliable, credible, and she made her decision. There's not an appellate court out there that I'm aware of that would grant the appeal.
I think they would grant it just based on how many babies Dr. Mitchell has delivered. So
totally. I've delivered 20,000 babies, and hey, as the saying goes, you're either pregnant or you're not. And just based on this one, his adorable statements, man. And then
men have a habit of dribbling before they shoot, like basketball players.
Oh yeah. Men are like basketball players. They dribble before and after they shoot. It's like, don't be gross, Dr. Medchill. Nobody wants to hear that from you. It's like your grandfather teaching you sex ed. It's like, all right, enough.
During one of the rewatches, someone said that he looked like the HBK killer or something like that.
I saw that. I didn't see that resemblance. I got more.
BTK.
Gosh. Or BTK. Yeah.
You know what? When I picture Medchill in my mind, the face that I get is that movie Bad Santa from 2004. Yeah. Do you remember that little kid's dad who was in prison?
I don't remember that part.
There was a jail visit.
I'm gonna look it up.
Where Bernie Mac goes to do a jail visit, and then the guy, what's his name? His dad was in jail, and he was like in jail for tax fraud. He looks exactly like that guy. Somebody in the chat is gonna point it out. But I didn't get the BTK killer thing. He was like, unless you're talking about BTK killer like minus 80 pounds. I don't know, or plus 20 years maybe. So to continue on with this dribble. So he cites the roving room, which is stupid. He says, folks, I should not have to explain this, but a judge is not allowed to Google to decide material facts in a case. So he makes a accusation that the judge
right.
something. Well, good luck proving that.
So like some random person in a comment section, which was like equal to like kind of a Yelp review is what I'm understanding, said that, and he's running with that. Is that what we're getting here?
Well, the roving room, that's basically what it is, a Yelp for judges, but it's wholly unreliable because it's just a bunch of pissed off people that were upset that the case didn't go their way. Now they're going to leave the judge a bad review. Mm-hmm. When I read the roving room, when I used to read it when I was a younger attorney, it was like, hey, so what's the temperament of this judge? Or like, what kind of things do they like? Do they like legal arguments? Do they like things, prim and proper? Are they more off the cuff? But even that was not very helpful. And so I stopped reading that years ago. So he says, he makes this weird Google search. I allegation, which is stupid because you're allowed to bring your personal knowledge to use your discretion in evaluating and weighting evidence. That's your job as a judge.
I wonder
In line with the evidence, of course. So Greg Gillespie, I'm sorry, did I interrupt somebody?
No, I was to say for like the because they're talking about dates for when she went for the sonogram. So like, if the judge was to say, let's Google the Planned Parenthood and see are they even open on Sunday, is that something that they would feasibly be allowed to do?
No, they can't do that. Because the attorneys would be responsible for providing that evidence. But they can rely on their personal knowledge of things to evaluate certain circumstances. They can't. So, in other words, if there was no evidence presented, they can't just Google whether or not Planned Parenthood does anonymous pregnancies. But what I suspect happens all the time is that they will Google stuff like that and just not tell anybody that they did it, and they'll tell them. You know what? I know for a fact that Planned Parenthood doesn't do that shit because, and they'll cite some reason. I'm not accusing any judge of doing that. I'm just saying.
Because things like calendars and whatnot are generally thought to be just admitted because it's the calendar, it's the dates, everyone assumes that. So it's like, it's a Sunday. So
that's just that's called the judge taking judicial notice that certain things are such common knowledge that it doesn't need to be presented in the evidence. And so you have to make those arguments. You're right. Everybody knows that September 3rd of 1980 was a Wednesday because you look on a calendar and you could know that. But for other things, such as whether or not Planned Parenthood does anonymous pregnancies or tests, you would have to have an expert come to say that. But we did have one. And so it's a stupid argument anyway, just on those grounds. Continuing. So Gillespie has been emailing me suggesting he's going to sue Laura, which I don't know that to be true, and I sincerely doubt it to be true, but maybe he has.
I will bet everything in my savings account that is not true.
I don't think it's true either, just from what I've heard, which I'm not going to disclose, but I just don't think that that's true.
I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, he says, bro, you already sued her for her with Master Woodnick representing you when you lost. It's funny that he's calling Woodnick Master because he kicked his ass in court. Hey, I was not even going to go into that part of it because I thought that Gingras had a bad case to begin with, and he did the best he can with what he could do. He was pretty much playing the Better Call Saul role and trying to like stir up things in the hopes that it was going to work, and that really doesn't work in real life too often. At any rate, so about 12 hours before Judge Amato's ruling was issued, I sent an email to the court explaining that we believed there may be grounds to remove Judge Amato. Of course he did, for cause. So basically there's a rule that allows the party to file a notice saying that the judge is either biased or unfair. This is the problem. Like, he's stating this stuff like he's saying something. We know that that's a rule. And the fact that there's a rule that exists because of that doesn't mean that he has evidence of her bias or her being unfair. And he's going to cite that every single motion that I've ruled on, she's denied. That's because all your motions were stupid and not grounded in law. But what do I know? I'm just a lawyer. So in this instance, the concern was based on stories posted on social media that claimed Judge Mata's father attended the trial. Yeah, I started this with you, Lauren, look, if my daughter was ever a judge, and I've told her very explicitly, do not go into law. It's a profession. It is bad for your soul. You're going to hate it. It's a lot of hard work. You don't need this shit. There's way easier ways to make money. But if she ever did, any of my daughters, man, I would be front row and center. If she had a high profile case like this, I would not give her my legal opinions. Like, hey, you're the freaking judge. You decide. You figure it out. I'm just here because I'm proud of my daughter.
Now he's probably just like he's probably just like a really good dad. He's trying to like hang out and watch, you know. Yeah,
I'd imagine that her dad is older, like maybe 70s or 80s.
He wasn't even in the actual courtroom, so.
I can't look. I've even had my grandmother say, "Hey, when could I watch you in court?" It's like, "Grandma, don't come. Just please don't." That's
Let your grandmother watch you.
I don't need the extra pressure, okay?
That's fair. That's fair. You don't want to mess up in front of grandma.
Yeah. Oh, that's so. When you're like a first-time lawyer, like that happens all the time. Aside from all your family hitting you up for legal advice or free legal services, hey, when can I watch you in trial? You don't need to see me in action ever. How about that?
Because one of the things that's been reported is that he may be a former attorney. So
who gives a shit? Maybe he is. That doesn't mean that they're like going over legal opinions and that she's relying on him to make a legal decision.
Well, right, but I'm saying if you as an attorney and your daughter became a judge and you're retired and have nothing else to do, in your retired life, you'd be
Yeah.
like, "Well, I'm going to go see this trial because my daughter's sitting on the bench."
Yes, I agree with that. It's a normal dad thing to do. I mean, whatever my daughter's doing, I wouldn't go watch her like I don't know, do telemarketing or anything if that was ever a thing, or sell vacuums. But if she has some high profile job on a high profile case that everybody was talking about, man, I want a front row seat for that because I'm so proud. Look at what I made. That little one used to be in my never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's let us move on. Again, he references Clayton's cult, but I thought that this article was not supposed to be for Clayton's cult.
Right.
So in the instance, this concern was based on stories posted on social media that claimed Judge Mata's father attended the trial afterwards. He spoke to members of Clayton's cult. Who cares? According to at least one person, the judge's father made statements implying that Judge Mata shared information about the case with him. He should identify them and show his evidence, including a suggestion she was going to make adverse rulings before the trial began.
That
Look,
did not happen. There's no way that happened.
but here's the thing. I'm 100% sure that Judge Mata had an idea of what she was going to rule before the trial took place, because every judge has what they call tentative rulings. In civil law and family law, they literally tell you, look, this is what I'm leaning. This is my tentative ruling. I'm going to deny your motion, and here's why. I'll hear arguments, but this is that. Even if she didn't post that she had a tentative ruling, she had one because she has been a party to the case.
Right.
She's seen stuff. So it was incumbent on Laura Owens' legal team to present evidence to change her mind. That is not an appealable issue. Now, if he can prove what he's saying, like I've already identified a couple of things that I just don't believe in this article to be true. So if this is true, according to at least one person, who is that person? I hope it's not Laura Owens. The judge's father made statements implying that Judge Mata shared information about the case with him. So he heard secondhand that there was an implication that maybe Judge Mata shared information suggesting what she was going to do before the trial began.
I doubt that if that guy worked in law, I doubt that he's telling random strangers that. You know what I mean? So like, I don't believe it.
I'm with you on that, folks. If that story is true, and if that moment we cannot confirm it either way, and there's not going to be a way to confirm it, that would be one of the most outrageous acts of judicial misconduct imaginable. Well, so he's going to make a lot of noise and he's going to say things like that, but he's not going to have the evidence to prove it anyway. So what are we doing?
Yeah.
I'm just going to move on to his next bullet point. Go ahead.
Here's the interesting thing about this, and I don't know if you want me to spoil the end of this blog
go
post.
for it. It's all spoiled. I'm sure that everybody knows what this letter is about.
So at the end of the day, he says, I can file all this stuff, but I'm not going to, because if we submit for an appeal, we're going to get a new judge anyway. So what's the point of writing all of this stuff if that's not even the way that you're going to go anyway?
For Laura.
Yeah.
To make believe that he has grounds for appeal. I suspect... and also to maybe get some things off of his chest. Maybe he was drinking. Maybe he was like, you know what?
We know he was on a cruise ship while he was writing this. So the likelihood that he's been drinking is pretty high.
When I was in Hawaii, I did a live stream and I got a little inebriated. It went on. And I went back and was like, you know what? I don't even know what I just said. I'm going to delete this shit. So I deleted it. Not from my life. Because it was probably a bad idea to say what I did, and I'll never do that again. So, but yeah, I think that he was just in his feelings when he wrote this, and he was just trying to get some things off his chest. I feel like his journal is like his shoulder to cry on, and his journal just happens to be this publicly viewable thing. So he says in this last bullet point, if I wanted and I believe the facts and the law supported, I could still file a notice asking Judge Mata's boss, the presiding judge, to remove her from the case, because the phase of the case is basically 99% done. The only thing, yeah, of course, attorney fees, whatever. So how's Laura feeling? Do I believe her story? I don't care how Laura is feeling. Someone skip point 2. As for point 2, yes. After all of this, I am still 100% on Laura's side. I have heard from certain people that he has, you know what? I don't even want to get into that aspect of it.
Okay.
Whether or not he has a romantic proclivity.
I don't know. The guy has a wife. I tend to believe that he's not doing that, but that's just me assuming that he's being a nice husband. So
I'm skeptical of that because I literally this week had somebody contact me asking if, hey, is it appropriate if my attorney like flirts with me like this? And
No.
she showed me like a screenshot. I was like, yeah, that guy's an effing creep.
a screenshot?
Yeah, she like screenshotted me like a text message that he sent her. And
Oh, how would they have that?
well, she was text messages. Well, she was text messaged by can't talk. She was text messaged by her former attorney who is now retired. And I basically told her that, I mean, legally, I guess he could do that. It's kind of creepy, but there's not anything illegal there. I say all of that to say that I don't know what's going on between him and Laura. I don't blame him for believing in his client. Just the basis for which he's doing it is vitriolic and adolescent and amateurish, and not something that any other attorney would vet. I've talked to a lot of attorneys about this case, and none of them are believing any of Gingras's bloviation. I'm going to start using that word because he used it, and I was offended that he used it.
Yeah.
Well, even Judge Mata wrote that there was significant motion practice, especially once Gingras came into the field, and it unnecessarily increased legal expenses for both sides.
Which is true. Which would royally piss me off as an attorney. Look, I'm a super chill attorney, man. I'm not trying to rock the boat. If we're litigating and you're on the opposing party, I'm 100% trying to find a middle ground. But if you F around and you file frivolous motions, I will 100% with all of my mights and all of my strength go after you for filing frivolous motions, which is what Eckert did. And I'm proud of him for doing that. And I'm glad that he did it because it sets a precedent that you shouldn't do these things. But Gingras doubled down and now is tripling down. So whatever. But here we go. So even if I give, all right. He says, even if I give Clayton all the benefit of the doubt and accept his view of what happened, I'm 1,000,000% certain the court's decision was still wrong. I don't believe that. I just don't.
No, of course not.
Laura tried to drop this case as soon as she reasonably could. No, that's not what she did.
No.
She tried to manipulate a mediation to conversate about stuff, which was bizarre, which is not the same as dismissing a case. She 100% didn't do that.
If you might have miscarried in July and you're in the middle of a court case, you're going to go get that checked out immediately.
The first red flag was the fact that 4 days after alleged intercourse, she's filing a paternity petition. That's nutty.
Yeah.
No, she filed it August 1st. Then that would have been 2.5 months after.
You're right. She contacted him and said after 4 days, hey, I'm pregnant.
I'm highly fertile right now, so there's a possibility I might be pregnant. It's like, woman, please.
And then I would have been like, all right, well, show me the test. And then she's like, oh, look, here it is. And then I'm like, F. All right, well, then I guess let's go to the doctors together. Oh, no, I'm so scared of you. I will not. I don't want to tell you where I got my test done from.
And her own statements beat Gingras's argument saying that she wanted to mediate it in October because she got the blood quantitative HCG test, which said it was 102. She then researched to see what it would be in order to be a viable pregnancy, to send that to the media and Clayton to doctor that document. Then went into the injunction against harassment hearing to say that she was 100% pregnant. At no time in that span did she want people to believe that she had miscarried and was no longer pregnant. So just to say that, oh, I wanted to put it on the dismissal calendar and let it go, no.
Yeah, well, she never did. And good on Clayton for not letting it go, because I feel like it happened like that with other victims of hers. Mm-hmm. That they were just so, look, I don't want to get involved with any of this. What do you want? You want a protective order? Fine, I'll sign the effing protective order. And then she got it.
Well, they also got pretty financially drained as well. So it's like at that point, do you want to go further and further into debt, or you just want to put your hands off and say, have what you want, I'll leave you alone.
But when you piss off enough people and they come to somebody's aid because they find a universal mistruth, a universal faux pas, a universal injustice occurring, They rallied around Eckert because it just, whatever was happening stunk. And we got to the bottom of it, and the side of Owens was bullshit. That's what happened in this case. And so they forced her to have consequences for her mistruths. And now she's mad about it.
Right.
Gingras continues. If Clayton believed Laura lied about being pregnant, he could have simply sued her in civil court for defamation.
Are you asking for it? Like, are you asking for it?
I feel like that's still coming. He can still sue her in civil court.
He should, if he can manage it, and if he is okay with like going through that for however long it takes, then he should.
Well, the thing that he's not stating and being honest about, if there's a finding in the family law courts that she was manipulating the court and spouting off mistruths under oath, in this case, it's going to 100% make the civil case easier. And a lot quicker than in civil court. If you get in civil court, you might be litigating for years before you ever get to a trial. In family law court, things happen much quicker. Okay. And so the legal strategy was correct. Get this done in family court and then take it to civil court to do what you got to do. Because now you have a foundation for which you can base your lawsuit, and you're going to have a good time. You're going to win.
No, go get mommy.
I
think Brad forgot to turn his mic off.
Sorry, I'm getting child aggro.
I get child aggroed all the time. You know, it's funny about the 4 and 5 year olds, man. They're all knees and elbows, and so you just be sitting there on the couch and like, "Hey, Dad!" Pow, people's elbow, pow, right to the nether regions. It's like, why did you do that? And you can't just toss them across the room because they're fragile.
No, of course not. No, I don't have kids, but my brother does, so I used to watch them.
My other brother has decided not to have kids, and so good on him. He always makes fun of me. He also happens to be gay, and so
he and I have so much in common.
Yeah, but there was a time in his life where it was like, I could adopt, and then now he's like 40, and he's like, yeah, F that.
I mean, it looks very tiring. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like,
It
I'm
is
just like, is it? Maybe
I
not.
gotta tell you, man, I had 2 sets of family in Hawaii with me, on my wife's side and on my side. How many of them do you think volunteered to babysit for one night in Hawaii so my wife and I could have like a night out?
Nah, none.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah, right.
Nada. Because my children are demons. I'll fully admit they're not. They're just a lot together. You know, individually they're super cool, but when you get them together, man, they got devious plans and they execute them well. All right, so I'm wrapping this up. So for now, no further comments from me about this. I'm on vacation with my family, and I intend to enjoy the rest of my trip. Moving forward, I will not be posting anything further about this case. Until then, thanks for all the passion and interest. Blah. Okay. So that's what he had to say. I just want everybody that was worried about that to know this. I do not believe, nor does any attorney that I respect believe that there are any grounds for appeal in this case. This case was so airtight in the way that it was presented on June 10th. The evidence was so damning against Owens. And the fact that she was referred for prosecution is significant, because in the midst of the appeal, if that criminal case, if she's charged with anything, that would be wild. I just do not believe, I'm 99% certain that there is not an appealable issue, short of Gingras being able to prove that wild accusation that there was some kind of communication with other parties in the case or family members, which there's no effing way that's true. But if it was, maybe. But I'm 99% sure that this will die a swift death on appeal. It's not even going to be heard for oral argument. I doubt it.
How long do you think that'll take?
The appellate process is usually months long, so they got like 90 days, and don't quote me on any of this, but there's like 45 days to get like your initial petition out there and get your brief in, and all
30 days in Arizona to file notice, and then he says he thinks he's going to file opening briefs in late September,
120 days or something like that. 90 days, yeah. And so those get reviewed for oral arguments. I just, if they're going to deny it on the pleadings, then there's not going to be oral arguments. I think that's what's going to happen. I've been right about every single phase of the stage so far. I think that I'm right about that. This isn't going to make it to oral argument, but you know, Maybe he could come up. Maybe he could conjure something. Better Call Saul style.
Oh, Better Call Saul. He's not as smart as Saul. No one is. Just kidding.
That's also not a real thing. I was watching Better Call Saul yesterday where he did the whole thing where it's like, hey, so you have pretty good eyesight, right? Yeah, I do. And you had up close and personal interaction with the defendant. Yeah. And you could identify him and you're confident about that. Yes, I am. And that you said that that's the defendant right there. Yes, I did. But would it surprise you to know that that's not the defendant? My defendant is actually sitting in the last row of the gallery. He's like, Mr. Saul Goodman, Jesus Christ, get into my chambers right now. I was like, oh man, if I ever pulled it, I'd be so afraid to do that. But man, if somebody ever did, I'm keeping that in my back pocket for when I'm about to retire.
Oh, good. Okay.
So I've got this Twitter thread pulled up if you want to go through that.
Oh, yeah, do it. Oh, is that you? I'll add
yep.
that to the stage. Okay, so what am we looking at? All
right, so let me make this a little bit bigger for everyone. So this is talking about him posting the blog post. He says, David, do you intend to file a motion for reconsideration? If Laura misspoke about the Planned Parenthood location and therefore records were never sought from the Los Angeles location, can't you just get them now under whatever pseudonym was used? Someone commented else, they probably could if there were real records, but all of us, Laura Owens and David Gingras included, know there was no such visit since Planned Parenthood was closed that day. So then David says, why continue with this BS narrative?
Exactly, Gingras. See, that's the kind of stuff that he would say to me if we were drinking.
So then Fenchurch, who's been antagonizing him something fierce, says, okay, I do want to know, what part is BS? Laura Owens changed the location of the sonogram 3 or 4 times. Smile, Planned Parenthood Mission Viejo, Planned Parenthood Costa Mesa, and Planned Parenthood Los Angeles. And Costa Mesa, I think, is also in San Bernardino County. I'm not entirely sure, but when I looked it up...
Costa Mesa is Orange County.
It's Orange County. So it'd be in the same region, so therefore...
like 45 minutes away or so.
Well, I say for the purposes of the discovery request that was sent, that encompasses that regional network.
I will put all of that to bed right now. What the discovery requests, without even looking at them, literally probably said was that give me any and all records that you've ever had from any location anywhere in the universe for the last 5 years that indicated that you had any form of pregnancy whatsoever.
Right.
It would be all encompassing. It would not be limited to counties, which is why on my mock cross exam with Megan Fox, I told her, we went through this whole thing. So I asked you in discovery to give me any records whatsoever that confirm you were pregnant. And the thing that you proceeded to give to me was this altered thing. And so when she on the stand said, well, did you check LA County? And then that's when it was like, oh, she's so cooked on the stand. She is so finished, because literally that would have been a question in discovery that would have been asked exactly how I asked it, which would have been all encompassing, applying to the entire universe, not limited by county, not limited by anything other than just legitimate documents. And so the fact that they went there was telling.
The weird thing is that Planned Parenthood organizes these regional groups. So there's Planned Parenthood Northern California, then there's Planned Parenthood Los Angeles, which is his own regional set, because there's like 20 that fit in that group. And then there's Orange County and San Bernardino County. And so the record that we saw, which was the response from their lawyer, was only for Orange and San Bernardino County, because she had said it was in Mission Viejo, which falls under Orange and San Bernardino County.
Let's just assume that she had some kind of legitimate record in Los Angeles County that was never conjured up before. Right. It would really help her case to present that on June 10th.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it wasn't. And so bullshit to all of that. That's all I got to say about it. Utter bullshit.
So David says, we have records proving she made an appointment on 7/2 to Mission Viejo, which she didn't keep. And yes, Mission Viejo is open on Sunday. We also have records of her telling the Neurological Institute that she went to Planned Parenthood in California the weekend before 6/28, which is why she says she didn't go on 7/2. And this isn't really that big of a mystery. But if she went, she would have had records, and she could present them.
Who gives a shit? She never kept the appointments anyway.
Yeah. So then L says Mission Viejo does not offer ultrasounds. So then he gets real mad. She didn't go to the Mission Viejo location. Why do you not understand this? Did not go to Mission Viejo. Say that again and you're blocked. Like, this was 9 hours ago, so
Oh
he was
boy, Gingras, come on, man.
pissed.
Oh, he's got a. I bet you that guy's got like hypertension level 2.
Oh no.
So then he says she made the appointment to go to Mission Viejo, but then canceled it because she went to a different one the week before. And then I responded and I said, "Are you saying the affidavit she executed on April 16th, 2024, while you were retained, because every time he says something, it's like, well, I wasn't there. That wasn't me." So then so this is when he was in and he filed it. There's the filing right there. And in her affidavit, it says her mom drove her to Planned Parenthood on July 2nd, and she had an ultrasound performed. So either she lied in her affidavit, and he just doesn't want to.
Whenever he gets
Prove it.
confronted with these facts, he gets really pissy. He would find you, and he would find your conduct, Brad, as judicial misconduct.
Oh, I'm sure he would, but the problem is he can't keep claiming that everything was before his time, and then make a filing. Here, let's pull the document up right here.
That's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair. Petitioner's response for amended, and here's all of his wonderful information. This is his document that he filed. And then you scroll all the way down into Medshill's report, and you find the exhibits. Here's more. Affidavit of Laura Owens. And it says right under...
Oral Owens?
Yeah,
Oral Owens. Oral Owens.
That was not intended. All right, here we go.
Easy mistake.
Number 28. On July 2nd, while traveling in South California, I made an appointment with Planned Parenthood for the purposes of obtaining abortion pills to medically terminate the pregnancy. Blah, 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 blah. My mother drove me to the location on July 2nd, 2023, but she did not come into the facility. I went into the appointment alone, and I explained my situation to the care provider. Now, I was going to say that it says Mission Viejo, but it doesn't. So that it gives her the wiggle room to say it was Los Angeles or whatnot. But he can't claim on Twitter that she didn't go on July 2nd when the affidavit she filed while she retained him says she went on July 2nd. And then
all of these are going to be part of the appellate record. And so all of these misstatements are going to be
misstatements.
The appellate statements, the appellate court looks at this de novo. So they're going to have to start from square one, and they're going to look at the appellate record of which this is going to be a part. And they're going to say, yeah, that was a good judicial decision. I think that we're going to deny the appeal. Stupid. And it's there's so much there's so much that you can attack Gingras with. And it's hilarious to me that it's like, if you say that again, you are blocked. That is not fair. I'm starting to think that that's where Laura mostly got it from.
No, I think she might have rubbed off on him.
She rubbed off on him for that one.
Rubbed off on who? I don't know which is which. I got to get to some of these super chats. They are piling.
Oh yeah.
Hey, how do you get rid of ones that you already read?
Go to the starred, and then there should be a unstar, and then that's how you clear your queue.
Okay, I think I'm getting the hang of it. Let me hide that one. Yeah. Okay, so Mag in Florida asks, what if referred to DA would the charges be? Perjury, obviously. Maybe I tried to conjure up maybe witness intimidation as it relates to Maricini for the 911 call. I would be really interested as a prosecutor in that specific charge, because that runs so counter to this community that we've built up to keep witnesses safe. You cannot compel a witness to testify in a trial and then intimidate them into not coming, because it's going to run counter to your case on the basis of a protective order that you may have fraudulently obtained.
So the thing about it is, we know that she was referred for perjury.
Right.
And there will be 20 different case or counts of perjury for each statement, because they're going to go through and they're going to try and find all of the individual counts and then say, do we have the evidence to support each of these findings? And then the other one that she was referred to was evidence tampering, for altering documents and submitting them to.
Well, that one should be a slam dunk. I think that she might get away with that one, as in none of them were submitted as exhibits. They were submitted to various people not in line with litigation. That's going to be her argument to that, and they're going to have to prove otherwise.
She submitted it as part of this affidavit. She doesn't get the chance.
Slam dunk. Slam dunk. Finished on those grounds. Yeah, but that would be like a, I don't know if is that a misdemeanor or a felony in Arizona?
It's a class 6 felony.
Wow. She may be facing prison time.
But,
if they truly prosecuted this case, they got plenty to go on.
So the witness intimidation thing, would that be on Laura or would that be on Gingras?
I feel like it should be on Gingras.
Right.
I feel like it should be on Gingras. He has been, look, as an attorney, you are held to a higher standard. Not only are you supposed to know the law, you're supposed to operate ethically. There's never been an occasion in my career, which is half as long as Gingras's, where I have ever had the thoughts to threaten a witness with jail that I have subpoenaed, or if they've been subpoenaed, because it's just not ethical to do that. Plus, there's the bailiff and there's rules of court that dictate that, hey, even if there's a protective order, they're allowed to testify in court, because that is a sanctified place that where we are finding truth. And we're not going to make a witness unavailable on the basis of a protective order, because we have very specific purposes. And there's protections of, like the judge said at the beginning of the trial. Look, there's a bailiff here, I'm here, we're in court, everywhere, there's cameras everywhere, nothing's going to happen, you're safe. It's pretty much what she said, which is what I had said like a couple days prior, which was what any attorney would tell anybody that asked that question, except for Gingras. I've never seen anybody weaponize a protective order to get rid of a witness who may run counter to their arguments in a trial. That, I don't understand why that would not be witness intimidation. And yeah, to Laura Owens, but Gingras is the one that effing did that. He's the guy that should know better.
So the interesting thing about that is, if you follow the timeline, Gingras said that I saw you that Mike Maricini's on this thing, and I do not want him there because of the protective order. And if he shows up, I'm going to call the police. Then in a subsequent email, he says, hey, sorry, I was a little bit too offensive. That's completely off the table. And then in another motion 2 weeks later, he's right back in it and says, no, absolutely not.
Which he had to have known that Maricini was not going to have time to testify anyway. They had 50 minutes apiece, according to that judge. And they just did not have time to get to those kinds of witnesses to prove propensity, which is what it would have been. So the fact that he is doing that, I got to feel, was for Laura, to make her feel better. Maybe Laura was pressing him, like, look, you got to do something about Gillespie. Say, okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to write this letter. I'm going to make this motion in open court. I know that nothing's going to happen with it, but at least my client's going to be happy. Maybe it was something like that, because there's no way that Gingras doesn't know that that's not a thing. Mm-hmm. I've never heard of that in any jurisdiction in the United States ever. So, yeah, I guess we'll see. Let me get some more of these. Mm-hmm. I got to click the star. Cat lady. Oh, shit. I think I just... started that one on accident.
No.
I'm sorry, cat lady. If anybody knows what cat lady said, let me know and I will try to find it again. Chris Jenner says, I think Laura is innocent. Jenner.
She's kidding. She's kidding.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was gonna make it. I said, there's no way she's not kidding.
No, she's kidding.
Thanks for the $1.09. Much appreciated. I'm gonna go buy a protein shake or something. Cages for the 5 says, seeing the edits on Brad's copy is fascinating. So what is the edits, Brad?
They were largely, so I can pull them up, but there's not a ton that was there. Most of them dealt with either moving a sentence or changing things like district attorney to Maricopa County attorney. So like,
was there anything like earth shattering that would
not particularly, the one sentence that was kind of weird is there was nothing there, and she's talking about Maricini coming while the protective order is there, and she puts this line in, and it says, "And why did he need to be a witness for a 2023 paternity case when I hadn't even seen him since 2018?"
Oh,
which
right.
which was interesting because people went to the renewals for
It
the protective
invalidates that
order
renewal for Gillespie, not Gillespie,
for
Maricini.
Maricini,
Yeah.
and she put in those things that she saw him in 2019. She found him at a restaurant in 2020, like 2 different times.
Oh, she
So
redacted that portion of her statement, right?
no, she added that in, which
Oh,
is
she
even
added
weirder
it.
because now she's lying and saying that she hadn't seen him, but in the court filings for the renewal, she says she and her mother saw him.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, oh, well, that may be grounds to overturn based on that on that mistake. Maybe it's not enough, but it's certainly something to point to. I would think that that would be the one statement that she would redact, but she kept it in there. I
You
guess.
would think.
Yeah.
There was another one where she says, "I even volunteered to spend $5,000 on attorney to act as a mediator," and then she changed the wording to, "I spent $5,000 for an attorney." And it's like,
Nah, she's editing her. I guess I do that too. Sometimes I edit my spelling typos. Laura to Lauren.
Oh,
I've been saying so I just did it right now. I've been saying Lauren's name wrong like forever. Since I've known about Lauren, I've been calling. Oh, it's Lauren Needy. Lauren Needy.
it is Lauren Nighty.
Lauren Needy.
Lauren
Well, that's
Nighty.
even. That is not what I thought it was. I've been saying needy forever.
You were close enough, man. It's close enough. It's all good.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So IB, thank you so much for the $9.99 here.
Cursing money.
Yeah, I need to have a cursing jar. I really do.
I think they were paying you because you're going to get demonetized.
yeah.
I'm already there. I'm just counting on it. Like ever since I started doing these live streams, like I'm just accepting I'm going to be demonetized. It is what it is. Lisa Love says, I'm hopeful you can tell us what the procedure is to overturn Clayton's protective order issued by, well, there's not a chance, I don't think, that Eckert's going to be able to overturn that because it wasn't based 100% on Laura's fraudulent statements. It was at least in part based on Eckert's actions, which have not been, which he did. He did certain things that the judge was troubled by, which was partly the basis for the protective order. So I think that protective order is going to stand. But the good thing about that is who cares? It's fine because he basically won everything else.
The judge in that, or the commissioner in that hearing, he thought that, well, based on Laura's word, he's like, I'm just going to take your word for it.
I know.
That Clayton had released certain things or said certain things online under different aliases, and it was just like totally hearsay kind of. So like, I don't know. I thought maybe he had a case for that, but
he took certain liberties. I mean, he may have had a case for appeal, but the time for appeal was passed. Yeah, he can't do it now.
He had 6 months to appeal it, but the interesting thing is that the order of protection says that you cannot say anything untrue about Laura. But now we have an adjudicated family court case that has a ton of things that are shown as fact.
Right.
So he can talk about those things and say, these were proven by a judge and says that they are fact. So she can no longer claim that he's saying these untrue things about me.
100% he can do that. Absolutely. And so I'm not so concerned about the protective order. I'm not so sure that Clayton's concerned about it at this point because he has basically been vindicated by the judicial order. He could rely on that now as truth.
When does it run out?
The protective order, I think after a year from the date. Wasn't it a 1 year protective order?
Okay,
Something
that's
like
not too long.
It's probably an initial so it's either 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, but it's almost over anyway.
Okay, good.
And so he should be fine.
Yeah. It just kind of limits, like, I felt like it limited what he could maybe say and stuff like that, so I wasn't sure if that was a big deal.
While the family court case was pending, he did have to because he wanted to ensure that he wasn't saying anything that was untrue. But now that it's all out there and adjudicated,
Yeah.
go for it.
What about the harassment injunction? Is what she's doing right now? Is that okay?
That's probably something that could be taken against.
Yeah.
Let us talk about that, because that's what stirred my ire this morning, reading about all of that. Zoot from Anthrax, what a name. Says everyone hating Dingus isn't the flex he thinks. Does he think it's a flex, or is he just like the bullied toddler that is bloviating, so to speak? All right, let me get into what Owens had to say. When judges played doctor, all right, I had to contain my anger when I was reading this, because look, here's a young lady. By the way, I've been thinking she was 29 years old this entire time. She's actually 34 years old.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Oh, I've been very kind in my analysis of Laura. And I was really hoping that she would take this opportunity to reverse course and find some peace, maybe go up to the mountains for like a month or 2 or 6 and find herself, get onto some peyote, maybe do some mushroom, maybe do some ayahuasca, rediscover herself, realign her thinking. But she's tripling down, which is sad, because it means that she is a prisoner of this narrative and she just can't get over it. And unfortunately for her, she's caged by her own impulses. But this is what she says. On June 18th, I'll share my screen. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Share screen into when judges played doctor.
My issue with this is like a little further down, because it's with her depression claim. So I'm gonna just hide my screen real quick while I go grab something. I'll be back.
Yeah, go for it. I will I guess proceed with this.
Yeah, just hide the super chat.
Oh, my bad on that. I keep on clicking on the wrong thing. Okay, so on June 18th, the court ruled that a pregnant woman cannot be considered pregnant unless she agrees she is. That's not what happened, Laura. Apparently, in a twist of medical and judicial logic, I feel like this is AI generated. This sounds like AI.
Some people think that Dingus or David Gingras wrote this for her to post because of some of the terminology, or she's taking things that he's either used in his own blog posts or filings and is copying and pasting them in.
That might be. I've had that suspicion with her for some time, but wherever this comes from, she's posted this under her name. So despite medical evidence and a 99.9% certainty from an OBGYN who has delivered more than 22,000 babies that I was pregnant, Judge Mata chose to believe the 0.1% chance that my multiple positive pregnancy tests were due to something other than pregnancy, which is a mischaracterization of how the evidence played out. Judge Mata believed the other expert, which said that, yeah, based on what I've seen, I can't confirm a pregnancy here above 95%, which is the legal standard in an Arizona petition for paternity, which is what she brought.
Right.
And so she's misstating that part of it. The ruling came just hours. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would say both her attorney, and Dr. Medchill are trying to logically link that a 99% detection rate for HCG is also a 99.9% confirmation that a pregnancy is there.
Yeah,
but
which is a
can't do that.
Conclusion. It's just not how that works. It's like, it's if you could identify that there's multiple reasons for elevated HCG, then you need further tests to confirm a pregnancy. That's why they say on those pregnancy tests, hey, if you test positive, go to the doctors right away to confirm officially that you were pregnant. And then they will take a series of HCG tests, or just a blood test, or just do a straight up ultrasound. Oh yeah, look, there it is. There's the little bugger. And they'll give you a little Polaroid picture of it or whatever, a little printout, and you can put it on the fridge and start thinking about names. But that's not what happened here in this case. So they have, she says, the ruling came just hours after notifying our attention. Judicial, father's present in the trial. She's talking about that again. He came to the hearing and sat with the opposing side, justice for Clayton Colt. That which is who knows if there was even another option to sit anywhere else, and how does she even know that?
Yeah, so we know through Megan that there was very few people in the public that were allowed in the courtroom because they were
Right.
fire coding it to 30. So they had the overflow room, which is where everyone else went.
And it appeared to be a very small courtroom. Like it
Yeah,
was just smallish.
there's like 4 benches and that's it.
Right. So in an email sent to Judge Amata's division, my attorney, David Gingras, wrote, Miss Owens has obtained a video of at least one person making these claims. Oh, yeah, we read that already. Good for you. David requested a direct response from Judge Amata to verify these claims by 5 p.m. the following day. So he's making demands. When we plan to file our concerns with the Commission on Judicial Conduct, instead of answering his questions, she rushed to deliver her ruling. Good for her. She basically said, yeah, appeal me, bitch.
There's people on the Twitter that say that actually isn't true, that she made her ruling prior to that and it just either didn't come out or what.
Was the ruling on June 17th? Wasn't it on 17th or 16th?
I'd have to pull it up.
I want to say that it was dated June 17th, but then I read something else that it was delivered on June 16th in court or something.
So 6/17 is what's date stamped, and then it says electronically filed 6/18 8 a.m.
Oh, okay. So it was the 17th that was ruled. Yeah. So if that is true, then it tells me that Judge Amata is like, you think that there's misconduct, then go for it. File your papers. It's your right. So this rushed decision reeked of a desperate attempt to secure her judgment. She didn't need to secure anything. She had all the time in the world. She had just made up her mind. It's no different than when a jury deliberates and comes back with a verdict in 15 minutes as opposed to 5 days because the evidence is obvious. The ruling defies logic. What were you going to say?
For a matter of pontification, judges are given the discretion of whether to enter final judgment on things. Do you think that she may have forced final judgment in the ruling because Gingras had sent that email, if what he claims is true?
I just don't think that they're related. Honestly, I think that those arguments are meritless, and I feel like it did not affect her decision or timing of her decision one way or the other. I feel as if he was ready to rule on the motion, and all she really needed to do was put it together so that it was appeal proof. So she went through a great deal of effort to detail all of the witness testimony and the things that she relied on to make her decision, which basically made it appeal proof. The reason why he's going on this nonsense about this story about she was leaking what she was going to do to other parties is because he cannot win an appeal on a merit-based argument that there wasn't enough evidence to rule the way that she did. He knows that. And so he's throwing all this other bullshit on the wall. And so I just don't buy that him delivering that email or making that threat had anything to do with the timing of the decision. And if it did, it's more like a pimp move. It's like, you want to do that, then appeal me. Here's my decision. Have a nice vacation, sir. I guess we'll see you on the 28th or whenever they're coming back to decide attorney fees. So he said, okay, so if he truly believed that what happened between us that night couldn't have resulted in pregnancy, why didn't he invite me over under false pretense to take a pregnancy test by himself? Probably because he thought you were going to test positive or negative. I don't know. That doesn't seem like an unreasonable thing to do. I think that what's more jarring is that, did I accidentally click on something? Yeah, what's jarring to me, she linked to that deposition testimony where Eckert was admitting to that.
Right.
I don't know. If somebody that I was dating told me that she was pregnant, I don't think that I would be compelled to have her take a test in front of me in my presence, unless I didn't believe that she was pregnant, and there's no effing way that's possible. So that's kind of a misnomer of logic that she's using.
Right.
I award that argument no points. So after the test turned positive, why did he admit that he would say anything to convince me to have an abortion? And I wasn't sure what she was talking about, but she refers again to the deposition. Oh, I know what she's talking about. Why did he admit that he would say anything to convince me to have an abortion? Because you tested positive, and that's going to F with it. Hey, Brad, so let's just say that you got somebody pregnant.
Uh-oh.
and she showed you a positive test, and it was like with somebody you really didn't want to have a baby with. And let's just say that you were of the mind, and I don't know your political stance on that at all, but let's just say you were of the mind that you really wanted her to have an abortion. Even if you didn't think that it was true, on the off chance that it might be true, could you see why Clayton would have done such a thing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you think it's truly a mistake and you don't want to have your futures mated up for 18 years plus possible child support and all that, you'd be like, you know what, we can take some pills and you'll feel bad for 48 hours and then it'll be gone and then you don't have to worry about me or anything else for the rest of your life. And then we can go on and have about our lives.
That is a very common narrative from men that do not want to have a pregnancy with somebody they don't want to have a pregnancy with. And so she's using these as if they are logical tie-ins to her theory, but they're just falling short of what she's trying to achieve. Her third point is, why did you later claim, if it ends up being my child, I've decided that either you'll take 100% custody or it will be put up for adoption. It doesn't matter if that was his thought or not. Maybe he just didn't feel like he was ready for a baby. He didn't want to pursue fatherhood when he wasn't ready. In the case that it was, maybe he just really knew that you were full of shit and just.
Well, maybe she thought that by the 12th time and the 12th phone number that he would have changed his mind.
There you go. If he felt how tight she was.
Clearly, you guys just don't understand women.
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, and in case you're wondering, her fourth point, I didn't try to trap Clayton. He even admitted himself that he wanted to have sex with me, but that I didn't want to sleep with him. And again, she links to, I guess,
deposition video.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to have sex with Katy Perry, but she didn't want to have sex with me. So what does that mean? Like nothing. No.
Did Clayton admit in that depot that he wanted to have sex?
Yes.
He didn't because of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I just somehow don't remember that.
He literally says, she told me no, so I didn't. So, like, you can't get a more feminist argument from a man than that.
Imagine that, a gentleman honoring the request of a young lady, or a 34-year-old, or however old she would have been. I had positive. Look, I'm 43. I'm not trying to say that 34 is old or not. Don't be offended by anything that I say, please. I'm just talking shit. I had positive urine and blood pregnancy tests done at medical facilities, which Clayton side had. She's just arguing her case again, which we already know is bullshit. I'm not going to reiterate it. It goes back to the 0.1% chance that Judge Mata chose to believe. No, Judge Mata thought that your expert was full of shit, and that 99.9% qualifier had nothing to do with the viability of pregnancy. It had everything to do with the accuracy of whether or not it got right, that the HCG levels were elevated.
Worst $2,500 ever.
Exactly. She's going on more about this stuff. In all honesty, the medical care choices I made weren't what I would have chose in ideal circumstances.
This is going back to Mata's statement that you'll go to an urgent care clinic and you'll go and get the labs to get the HCG test, but you won't go and actually get prenatal care, and that's bullshit.
I don't know, guys, about that because I usually just have a neighbor like check with the flashlight. It's cheaper.
Is that a thing? I don't want to check anything.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Look, man, I'd just rather not. But anyway.
She's claiming her depression was so debilitating, and Lawrence did a good video going over this. Her depression is so debilitating that she couldn't get out of bed. She couldn't leave the house because this had racked her at such an emotional and soulful level. She couldn't go get a sonogram, but she could go and do all of these other things.
Yeah, I don't buy it. It doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense to the judge. It don't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to any of the women that I know that are privy to this case.
Well, she's playing on the issues of people who actually have depression. I'm not even saying she's never been depressed. I'm like, maybe she has, but if you are so depressed that you are like disabled, you're not going to horse jumping competitions. You're not, like doing all these things like raising whisper from the ground. You're not you're not writing 500 messages. You're just like, if she's really that like disabled by her depression, then this doesn't add up. Like the behavior and the words don't add up. That's the most important thing to remember. And I think she tries to guilt people into like not even believing her at this point, but just to like stop talking about the things that she's done because she's like, I'm so depressed. How dare you? You know?
Well, that is a move, right? Like trauma
Mhm.
trumps everything when it comes to personal attacks.
Yeah.
And I feel like she likes the attention that comes from spouting off her trauma, and like these medical things get her. It causes people to stop their logic to consider what she's saying and whether or not it's true. And
Well-
that is and she talks about it right here. She says, Judge Amana claimed I have a pattern of similar, if not identical behavior, and refer to the case, DA's office. This was the first and only paternity case I've ever. That's not the pattern she's talking about, dipshit. The legal issues involving two of my exes were entirely different. Yes, I was pregnant by both and had abortions. Was that ever legally confirmed that she actually had abortions? I wonder if anybody had tried to discover those.
I mean, she could probably send you some documents.
Well, I'm sure she could.
I know
I'd have
she's been to
check
Planned
for,
Parenthood because we've got more than authentic documents that she went there for an abortion. But some of the other things surrounding it become tenuous.
She says that I was pregnant by both, had abortion. Legal matters were unrelated to the paternity. I agree. They were unrelated because they were restraining orders based on potentially frivolous accusations of domestic violence. I know at least in one case, I think in Gillespie's case, they reached a settlement and he agreed to the restraining order, which blew my mind. I understand why attorneys would recommend doing that. But it also put him in a precarious situation where he now has this restraining order in his background.
I mean,
and
I'm assuming he didn't have the funds, you know?
Well, there's that. But I've heard that he has spent an enormous amount of money trying to litigate it, only to agree inevitably to a restraining order for the purpose of moving on with life. But I think this was all before what happened with Maricini and all what happened with Eckerd, all of those things. And so
because they didn't get in touch until much later than that, right? So Mike did his interview. Brad, do you remember, or Omar, do you remember if Mike and Greg got in touch like before or during his case? I think it was after that, right?
I think it would have been after Gillespie's case. Then Maricini had a case, and then Gillespie was first, I think.
Greg had a case, or no,
Mike was
Maricini
first.
was first.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike was first. Oh, my mistake.
Gillespie was 2021, but then he had a second case that ran into 2023, and that finalized in like November. And then that's where the judge said, you both take your attorney's fees and pay them separately, and that's that.
Well, that happens a lot, but in light of all this other evidence, I don't think that it would have went that way.
Yeah.
Knowing what we know now. And so that's why people are asking grounds for overturning stuff. Maybe, possibly. I think build a case, but
I have a soft spot for Greg. I think he's a gentle giant and he seems like a really good dad. So I like that guy. But
yeah, Maricini sounds like all of these guys seem like
both of them.
good guys. But I don't know, man. They all got involved with this lady, and she has a pattern of behavior, and she doesn't know what pattern we're talking about. She thinks it's about one thing. We're talking about something completely different.
Now she knows. She knows.
Yeah, she's maybe she's playing ignorant. Yeah. She says, of course, both of these exes jumped on justice for Clayton. All right. Judge Amana claiming my behavior is the problem in the Clayton case is essentially siding with my two exes. She could think that, but I think it's just siding with the evidence. Because nothing in her ruling referenced any of her exes that I read anyway.
The one thing would be the cancer and not hysterectomy, oophorectomy.
Mm-hmm.
She did reference that, which was a part of Mike Maricini's case.
Okay.
Because she had claimed that to Mike, and then Woodnick called them out for not submitting those records to MedChill for his expert report.
I see. You know what? You're right. I misspoke.
No, you're good.
She says the overreach didn't stop there. She allowed one of them to appear in court. Again, this is what pissed me off. The overreach did not stop there. She allowed one of them to appear in court despite a clear violation of CLETS. Domestic violence restraining order against him. This decision blatantly violated federal law. We're not even in federal court, asshole.
Omar, are you playing with a soundboard for the
I
like
am.
one?
That's my
Oh,
Laura
man.
one.
I gotta
That's
get mine set
Laura.
up.
This is Gingras. All right. Enough of that. Oh, I can't stop it.
Damn it, dude! Stop it.
All right, enough of that. So she talks about VAWA mandates protective orders issued in one state must be honored in another, and she had no right to override such orders without the issuing court's consent. Yes, she did, because there's rules that deal with this very issue in court. It's most prevalent in criminal courts. It's especially effective in family courts because that's where most of these protective orders are generated. So I disagree with her. She's piggybacking off of the arguments of her attorney, which is legally inaccurate. And that's all I really have to say about it. She says, so there's no valid subpoena. And I don't think that was true. Is it true that there was no valid subpoena? I'm pretty sure there was a valid subpoena.
The argument was that it wasn't properly served on opposing counsel in order for it to become valid. So even though he was sent the subpoena, it was entered into a record and it was attached as a motion, it was not properly served. So
it's like the Rule 26 argument. It doesn't effing matter. So, okay, if he didn't show up to court, then it wouldn't be a legally viable subpoena for which he could be prosecuted, but he was there anyway on a subpoena that he was served. So he was well within his right to be there. Even so, still a legally incorrect argument. So her actions not only disregarded the law, but also put me in significant emotional distress. Effing give me a break. I have to. Lauren, I'm sorry.
Oh no. Well, the people think it's me. Like my voice isn't that feminine, so it's not me.
No, man. She was so emotionally distressed.
She was laughing with her attorney that she was so distressed.
Yeah, it's these kinds of stuff that just, it boils my blood. She tried to justify that by stating the judicial branch security will ensure the safety of all parties while at the Northeast facility. A completely unacceptable and illegal dismissal of the protective orders. No, it is not. Why did he need to be a witness for a 23 paternity case when I hadn't even seen him in 2018? She doesn't get to rule on what witnesses are relevant and which are not. So he gets to be there even if it chaps her ass.
I can disprove that being a layman, and I can tell you exactly why. Because if that was true, that even though you have a restraining order against someone, it would violate the ability to confront your accused, because you would be
Amendment.
Yeah, you would be like, I'm just going to pull in an order of protection. Then he has to, be away, and then we don't have to see him, and he can't confront me. Like, it's not a hard argument to prove it. It's
well, number one, you're right about the constitutional ability to confront witnesses. You can't just rely on, he can't show up because protective order. No, bullshit. He's a witness of this case, a relevant one at that. He's going to come in. You're going to have the ability to cross-examine him. You can't get over it with that. Did Brad drop off?
He disappeared.
Oh, well, shit.
He'll be back, probably.
I promise I didn't kick him off. If he'll come back.
Was that not one of your soundboard buttons?
No, my soundboard was malfunctioning. I had to silence it. Oh, you see that? Ow. It's like being overly sensitive, and I don't know what's going on.
I have one, but I haven't set it up yet, so I gotta figure that out. I gotta
fix my Rodecaster, which I love. I love this thing. I've had it for like a year. It's amazing. There's Brad. He's like waving at me.
No, like StreamYard said, oops, there was an error. Make sure you're connected to the internet. I was like, no, I'm still connected.
Pretty sure I'm connected, Stream. All right. Let me wrap this up with Owens so I could get to some of the chats. So my goal is to find an amicable solution without involving the courts. No, that's not
funny.
What your goal was to do. The amicable solution would have been to not try to extort people with their emotions. So she says she tried to resolve things privately, spent $5,000 for an attorney, act as a mediator. Didn't she threaten him with a $1.4 million lawsuit?
Yeah, so she skipped her deposition in January, and then after the status hearing, they said, no, we're going to do a deposition. So then 2 or 3 days prior to her deposition, she said, if you don't dismiss this action that she brought, then I'm going to sue you for $1.4 million because of the failed real estate deals.
Oh, okay. I see. I see. But it was, and I'm curious about how that even got in, because it was technically a settlement discussion. But it got into the trial.
Supposedly.
Yeah. So I chose not to continue with the lawyer when I filed the case pro se on August 1st, because all I wanted was for the judge to force Clayton to take a paternity test, which the mediator didn't have the power to do. But Clayton was already willing to take the paternity test. I don't remember a single instance of him refusing a paternity test.
Right. That's like a very minor
The-
thing.
The RavGen test in August, she said he didn't submit a sample for, so she canceled it. That's the only time.
All right. So from that time, the case was initiated December. When it was placed on the dismissal calendar, neither of us had any legal fees. When I confirmed to no longer be pregnant, I took no further action. Oddly enough, once the case was on dismissal calendar, Clayton decided to hire counsel for the first time. When I then tried to dismiss, she didn't try to do that. She requested mediation. His side refused, and Judge Mata agreed with them. Now I'm being held responsible for his legal fees. That's because you don't get to make frivolous petitions for paternity when you don't have a solid foundation for whether or not you're even pregnant or not. There's consequences to that, and good on Judge Mata and the other side for seeing this all the way to fruition. The petitioner is liable for respondents' costs incurred prior to. Yeah, that's because you forced them into litigation for no reason. She could have waited till she was legitimately 3 months pregnant. I get cases all the time where, look, I'm about to have a baby in 5 months. Could I file a petition now? Yeah, you're pregnant. You're going through that. We're going to need a parenting plan for when the child is born. But I'll tell you when I wouldn't say that, prior to at least 8 weeks of pregnancy, because miscarriages happen.
After you pass the alleged fetal sex. Maybe?
Yeah. Well,
Time.
So people talk about this, how Arizona is such a special case because you can file for parenting plans prior to the birth of the babies. And I said, you can make reasonable modifications to the law and say that you can't file it until after the first trimester, because if you're going to miscarry, you're most likely going to miscarry in the first trimester. And then you could require a sonogram for confirmation of the pregnancy.
That would be a reasonable legislative correction.
Yeah.
That I would agree with. 100%. That makes a lot of sense. But it is the case most of the time. Most people are not thinking about parenting plans within the first trimester anyway. It's not until it's holy shit, I'm going to have this kid. I got to figure out something to do.
There's 3 months. It's coming.
Yeah. It's coming one way or another. I got to get something in place. And they're just not all that common. Maybe less than 5% of my cases involve unborn children, or children yet to be ascertained, as we like to say. So let me wrap this up. Where did it go? Okay. My lawyer predicted the outcome of the case since Judge Mata had consistent. Everybody predicted the outcome of this case, not just the lawyer. The emotional toll, at the end of the day, I can't help but wonder, would the judge have allowed this to go on for months and months if Clayton and I were unknown? Yeah, they would have, because this is very easy, sanctionable stuff. I could tell you for a fact that I have cases where, with much lesser known people involved in similar scenarios, where we do litigate for that, because sanctions is a very real triable issue that needs to be dealt with. Mata's ruling appears to be driven by the high profile nature. I don't think it was. Brad, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, I actually would agree with Laura's point up there for one reason. She was able to go through the legal system unknown for at least 2 other guys, and if Clayton wasn't as high profile as he was, it wouldn't have gotten the eyes to then research her prior actions and bring all of this information up to show how litigious she is and find all of the different things. And it really wasn't until Dingus came in to make it even worse.
Yeah, he just blew the whole thing up, I feel like. But even so, I mean, it's not uncommon for, in my cases, for example, to bring in other instances of male victims from false allegations in cases just like this one. For very low profile people, have no celebrity status whatsoever. And they all get to come in, and I'm not limited to 2 hours of trial to prove it. If I can prove a pattern of malicious behavior as it pertains to domestic violence allegations, child abuse allegations, whatever kind of allegations, then it's highly relevant, regardless of celebrity status. And so I'm not sure if just because it was high profile, it changed anything that Judge Mata did. Right. I guess it'd be my only pushback to that. So, going on another scenario. You know what, man? That's the end of it. I know this is the edited. Okay, I'll end with this. I'm punished and threatened with the possibility of criminal charges for a case I was fully entitled to bring forward. This ruling sends a terrifying message. Any woman who files a paternity case can be prosecuted if she has a miscarriage. I don't think that any woman I've ever spoken with, regardless of this case, that has been the takeaway with respect to this.
No, that's so annoying.
Attempts to drop the legal proceedings, and the court arbitrarily decides not to believe she was pregnant in the first place, regardless of the evidence. I don't think that's true at all. She goes through a statute, has no prerequisites for filing a paternity case. No, it doesn't, but you still have to meet your burden of establishing that you have a viable pregnancy, which is identified by 95% higher likelihood that you're going to be pregnant, which could not be established by the evidence that was presented at trial. Not just because what's his name, the adorable one, said 99.9%.
Medjill.
Yeah. Doesn't mean that she was 95% pregnant or viable, whatever. Oh, I'm twisting my words right now. I'm trying to say something.
In order to meet the genetic burden of 95% certainty that the paternity is established, you had to have been able to do that. And Ravgen's results had little to no DNA, so you couldn't meet that burden.
And short of that
close.
one HCG test, there was nothing other confirming or that would have confirmed a pregnancy. And that's it. Case closed, end of story, whatever. So there is people that believe that these are veiled threats against her exes in this case.
I mean, it's not so veiled when she says she's going to report Clayton for coercion and fraud.
Oh, yeah. I mean, good luck with that. Coercion and fraud for
That's
what?
not what that means.
You had a whole trial to present your case, and he had the same opportunity. He went and he prevailed. That is all that happened. I got to get to some of these super chats before I forget. All right. Kayla Neese says, I joined the live late, so forgive me if this was already answered, but what are the chances she gets an appeal? 0. you did come in late, but we talked for like an hour about how, that's not effing happening. There's no chance. There's not appealable grounds that I've been able to identify, in my professional opinion. And I will leave that one at that. Taz, thank you so much, says, hoping you could help Mike out. He suffered the most. I don't know if he suffered the most because Gillespie has also suffered a lot. Eckert has suffered a lot. And I'm not like picking favorites here. I think that what Laura has perpetrated in this pattern of behavior is really hard for men to know exists as a thing. Anybody could get themselves involved with a woman and have her behave this way. Hey, I don't want to be in a relationship with you. Oh, yeah, well, that's too bad because I am pregnant and I'm keeping it. You find yourself a little Kelly Kapoor, and next thing you know, you're strung along and going through all of this stuff, and it's terrifying that it's gotten to this level. It's terrifying that we've had 3 cases of litigation involving this woman, involving a similar pattern of behavior. And for those reasons, I don't want to say anybody suffered the most. It just doesn't matter. They've all suffered in appropriate amounts that is deserving of attention. And with that, Mass Burn says, I'm a female. I am a police SA survivor, but I have hope for all survivors because I know there are both. Thank you. There are legitimate survivors of SA that really upsets me because people like Laura Owens just throw that word out there. I can't tell you, man, how many cases that I used to have a very specific opinion. When I was in law school, I never, ever wanted to do criminal defense as a defense attorney because in my legal utero mind, I just never wanted to be responsible for finding or representing somebody winning a trial when they were actually guilty.
And it's funny because you mentioned that first case that you did as a young attorney.
Hey, Omar, I totally did that shit. Well, there you go, man. Oh, and I was so happy too that I had won the whole big case. Then when he said that, I was too exhausted to even relax. I was like, well, lots of luck to you, I guess. What do I say to that? Best of luck to you and your young wife. gosh, no, I wrote a paper saying that, look, people that have been found guilty of violent sexual assaults and child molestation or similar things, the death penalty should be expanded to them.
They're
But when I
starting to do
actually got
that.
into practice, I started seeing the proclivity with which these false allegations would come to fruition. And I remember working at the DA's office or clerking for the DA's office, and I would have these cases come on my desk, and I'll start looking at the evidence, and it would just like, this isn't connecting dots. What is missing here? This doesn't make sense. What are you saying happened? And then you'll see like the video evidence, like, oh, it was all bullshit. Oh, wow. And this guy's facing how many years in jail? 28 years. It was wild and very eye-opening to realize the very real dangers that men who are falsely accused of this kind of stuff, they're threatened with their freedoms. And there's not very many things scarier than that, to know that you're going to lose 20, 30 years of your life on the basis of a false allegation. And at the same time, I've also represented hundreds of clients that were legitimate victims of this kind of thing. They've legitimately experienced these kinds of things, full on, physical abuse, mental abuse, stalking, and all of these other things. I've witnessed it, with respect to my family members that have gone through this. And so I get really offended when people just throw out SA allegations on the basis of, oh, I didn't know he was inside me. I thought it was his finger, but it turns out he gave me twins. I was raped.
There's an attorney out of Florida, goes by the name of Stephen Gosney, and he does death penalty appellate work. And I think you would enjoy a good conversation with him over things, because he is of the mindset that the death penalty shouldn't be on the table in general. So
There's lots of people like that.
Yeah, he's got some interesting thoughts on that, and I think you two should get together and chat about stuff like that.
I would 100% chat about him. Look, I've always been in favor of the death penalty. Like, what are you going to do with somebody that walks into a grocery store and stabs to death a 3-year-old at random and his mother, and that child dies? What do we do with that? How do you handle that? I know the instinct is to, death penalty, this and that. And I'd had to even argue, hey, why leave it to why don't we just do away with half the appellate process? Why limit it to the gas chamber? Bring back the electric chair and other various medieval forms of torture. I mean, I got medieval with it in my law school essays, but I understand the argument where some cases, it's hard to just say, oh, put this person to death. Aiden Fucci comes to mind. He was this 13-year-old kid. He stabbed to death.
That happened where I live.
Yeah, and oh, you're in Florida.
Yeah.
That 13-year-old little girl,
Mm-hmm.
and then he's in, custody, and he's trying to pretend like he's possessed by a demon and stuff. He's a stupid kid.
Yeah.
When I was here talking about that case, my co-host Ileana, she was like, "Oh, he's just being a dipshit, little stupid ass kid." But he's 13. He's going to grow up. He's going to be 23. And he's been sentenced to death. It was a time where, yeah, that warrants a death penalty, but it gave me pause because, like, boy, he's 13. He's just a stupid idiot kid. I am ambivalent about the death penalty, but but just the fact that there are certain cases where it's like, you know what? Do what you got to do, man. And, get medieval with it if you need to. There's certain cases like that. Not only that one, there was the one where that guy took the lives of his 4 children. One of them was in the arms of the mom. What was that guy's name? It was an Ohio case. I had said that guy was like worse than Chris Watson. There's a guy that's
I don't know if I know that one. I don't think I've heard of that.
Oh, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but it was it happened in Ohio.
Koberger.
No, Koberger that's the Idaho 4.
Oh, that's Idaho. What's this one?
Yeah, I'll tell you who it is right now. I got to look for my own video that I did on
Jason Dunham?
No, it wasn't him. It was not the Delphi case. It was Chad Doerman.
Chad Doerman.
If you know, just Google that guy. Chad Doerman. He had 3 sons. Took all of their lives. One of them, mother was literally had child in her arms. and then he shot the child while he was in her arms, and then just waited for the cops to get there on the porch. It's like, yeah, do whatever you need to do to this guy, death penalty to him, but don't let him live. I don't want to know that I share the same universe with this guy. Send him to some alternate place. Sorry for my rant on that. Bust Your Crime with the $10 says, I find her obsession to be believed is repetitive and alarming. Lying has been an issue for her way before her con with these men. Yeah, I think she does have obsessive compulsive tendencies. Lauren could speak more to that than I can. What do you think about that, Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, I try very hard not to specifically give any sort of diagnosis, especially when it pertains to her. But like, yeah, the behaviors are there, the antisocial behaviors, the obsessive behaviors, they're there. I think it's pretty obvious. Like that person was right. Like it happened long before this. Obviously, I can't point to any specific examples. I don't know this woman, but you don't just start doing that one day. So she had to have been, doing this kind of stuff growing up, and nobody ever tried to stop her. So
I agree. It's I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's spoiled little brat syndrome. I don't know if it's a lack of discipline. I don't know if it's I don't know a lot of things, but I would agree that it is disturbing. Starcasm, with the greatest username in YouTube history, with the $10 says, Omar, it's only minor perjury on like possibly a handful of items. Was it more than a handful, or was it a fistful, or do we need a couple of hands?
slightly
Double
smaller
fisted.
than hand sack if you're trying to be specific.
Who's measuring? I hope if more people are impacted, they come forward. She is ruining lives. Yeah, I agree. I think now is the time with this victory for Eckerd, that now is the time to come forward with this kind of thing. We had a whole Me Too movement. And I'm starting to see pushback with it in cases like these where it's going to be the opposite of a Me Too movement. And then maybe we end up back where we were. I don't know. Where does this go over the next 50 years? Time will tell.
I think people like severely overestimate her ability to kind of affect that movement. Like she's one person who is obviously like very like she's not with it. You know what I mean? Like she knows what she's doing, but I mean she doesn't like care. So I feel like people will see right through that almost and just be like, this is not a normal person. Like this is not a normal situation.
I feel like if this if this case were to be misused, she would become the poster child for false allegations, and then every woman with a legitimate allegation is going to be looked at under the Laura Owens light, and immediately invalidated, such as what happened like in the 20s and 30s when it's like, hey, you're allowed to sexually assault your wife. Y'all are married. And it was literally the law that if you're married, you can't be found guilty of sexual assault. And it took many dozens, hundreds of years to get over that piece of litigation. And so now where do we go with this? We had Me Too, and now we're veering towards this. Where is it all going? That's a deeper discussion that we didn't got time to get to. Keen and Michelle says Google 13-22802. What is this? Gingras did this to MM. I'm going to Google that. I'm going to split screen myself.
I think that's about the 911 call. Something that
Influencing
MG
a
mentioned.
witness.
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking about witness intimidation. Did they publish that 911 call anywhere?
I don't think anyone's got it foiled yet.
Oh, somebody's got to get that. I'm really curious to know, number one, what was said and what the response from the 911 operator was, that they had to bring the whole SWAT team down there to keep law and order. Ollie F says she provided false testimonies in 3 cases because she found out the pregnancy was non-viable in October, but testified under oath 3 times. After that, she was still pregnant. Yeah, a bunch of things. But the kicker was she let everybody know that, hey, you guys have been looking in the wrong place. It's actually in Los Angeles. That's where the test is going to be found. Didn't provide it herself, just told you where to go get it, which is what you're supposed to do in the first place, but never mind. Is what it is. Ileana Watch with the 5 says, judge used Google to research an aspect of the case dealing with snake behavior. Snake behavior describes this also perfectly. Yeah, even if that were the case, if it was something stupid like that, I can't see it invalidating or being an appealable issue. Google searches aside, it is a tool that is used. What about the fact that a lot of these pleadings appear to have been written by AI? Should we invalidate pleadings because we've used outside assistance in the compilation of legal arguments? I don't know.
There's nothing that says it, like, if I was to give, most pro se litigants are given by the graciousness of the court all of the books for here's your civil rules of procedure, here, or your criminal rules of procedure. These are all the things you have to abide by for being pro se, and
Yep.
I want those back at the end of the trial. So you have the ability to look and understand all of that knowledge. And whether it's computer based or not, it doesn't matter. You're going to be putting your arguments to paper.
Yeah,
And whether it's good or not is the risk that you run being pro se.
I agree with that. And also, good luck absorbing all of that information. You're going to need some help. Every attorney that's ever lived has to look it up before they put it down on paper. It's just how it is. Did you know there's 23 exceptions to the federal hearsay rule? Could you cite them all?
Could I?
Most
No.
attorneys couldn't. Yeah.
I know a couple of them, but
I used to have a memory palace full of all of the hearsay exceptions, and I've since destroyed that palace. But it is what it is. Christy Hotham with the 5 says, I think it's highly unethical for DG to continue to litigate this and make money. Oh, I agree with you. And let her think this is in her best interest. My thoughts are, as I said before, this is not something that I would feel right about trying to sell somebody that was coming to me for legal advice that, oh, look, here's what you got to do. I can appeal this case. I'll appeal this case and we're going to get this turned over. All you got to do is give me $200,000. I'll tell you what, I'll cut you a deal. We'll go 66% off. Let's go 75,000, make it a flat fee. I'll write this appellate brief and then we'll leave it to the fates of the universe. I would not feel right making that sales pitch to my clients. And Gingras, in that blog post, I feel like he did not outline a single relevant theory on the appellate review process that would lead me to believe that he has anything going for this appeal.
Not to defend David at all, because David's being a huge douchebag, but I think that she knows that it's not in her best interest. I think she can't help herself. I think she's like, I'm going to do every single freaking thing I can to try to get away with this before I finally admit like I did something wrong.
Well,
So
yeah,
I think that she like would have gone with it, whether he went with it or not. Like her other lawyers told her enough times probably that like you can't win this because you're obviously not telling the truth. But she doesn't care. She wants to keep going and going and going. So
she is it is my belief that she will sign any document containing any lie that she thinks can get her out of a situation. And because we've seen that with all of these documents, just in this case alone, how willingly she will put her name to something and keep telling a story, even if she knows it's not true, just to try and get out of it. So if she thinks she can fight her way out of being held accountable, then she's going to try for it, because her literal life, as she's built it up, of being a domestic violence survivor, of going to this brain trauma unit for domestic violence survivors, all of these things that she's done to build her career and talk about mental health and all these things, that's what her brand is. And she risks losing everything because of it if she gets proven that she's a liar.
It's more of a desperation thing at this point.
That and the point that she's being now threatened with prison. So maybe that's why
Yeah.
even further motivation to triple down on all of this stuff. Justice for Clayton says, hey, Omar, so glad you're covering this question. Is there any issue with Mata's dad attend? No, I don't think so. No, it's definitely not going to cause a mistrial. There's nothing against the law going to watch your daughter in a proud fatherly moment conduct the family law trial of the century. So good luck with that argument. All right, I'm going to butcher this one. Oh, what did I do?
Did you unstar again?
I start and restart and unstart again. And now I'm looking at
Ephipagus?
Ephupagus.
Let's go with that.
Thank you for the 20. She says, I lost my dad last year, but before that, he never missed a chance to come see me do even the most boring of things. he was just so proud. If I was a judge, my dad was still here, he would be at every session he could. Yeah, you cannot discount fatherly pride. It is a real thing. It will cause us fathers to go watch bad soccer, a bunch of 8-year-olds kicking a ball around and not in any kind of formation, just kind of congregating around the ball, trying to kick the ball into the goal because you're so proud of your kid. And every time they make contact, it's, oh my God, she kicked it. And, you know, you get, as a father, you get overly excited over things. I couldn't imagine watching my daughter preside over a case. Chris Jenner again with the 199 says, isn't LO violating Clayton's RO against her with blog? I'm not sure. Maybe. I don't think so, though. I think that she's okay. I wouldn't make that argument, but I'd have to look deeper into it. I'd have to really look into the language of that order, whether or not there's anything that's out of bounds there. But it's possible.
The concept of having a protection order and an injunction against harassment order confuses me, because are they not virtually the same thing? They probably aren't in statute, but it seems like they are duplicative in.
Well, a conjunction against something is just a stop on specific behavior. An order of protection is to protect a certain thing. They can overlap, but they are procedurally different things. Is my long story short response to that. Chris Jenner says, oh,
that's the same one.
Oh, I did. All right. Salty with 5. The undone tie and the legal talk. You're driving us all crazy in a good way. Here's a cold coffee. You don't need anything hotter. Yes, I do. I like my coffee hot. I need it to be a specific temperature. I'm not a fan of lukewarm coffee. I don't like my whiskey particularly cold. I prefer it to be room temperature because you mute all the flavors, by the way. Do you guys drink your whiskey over the rocks?
You guys don't like warm it up first?
No, you don't want to warm whiskey.
I'm fucking with you.
I'll tell you
like
what, Omar.
Russian apple cider or something.
If you want a good tasting whiskey, see if you can find yourself some 1792 single barrel. That is some of the best whiskey I've had, and it's fairly inexpensive.
What does that run? Is that like a $50 bottle?
That's like a $40, $50 bottle.
I'll try. You know what? I need to add that to my collection. I got a bunch of brands up there that I have not cracked open. I've been milking the Woodford Reserve just because it's my talking whiskey. But I got others. I got Celebration whiskey that I cracked open a couple episodes ago, but you never know. But I drink my whiskey neat. I don't like it on the rocks. I don't like adulterants. I don't like mixed drinks. If we're drinking whiskey, then what's the point of muting the? Never mind. I'm not a whiskey connoisseur. All right. Let's continue on. Starcasm again. She says, hey, Omar, Just Jules has the viewer questions when you're ready. Can we get the likes up? I don't think I can get the likes up, but y'all can get the likes up if you want. Yeah, I will line up. I'm literally getting through all the questions right now. I will make sure I get to everything. Hey, if you guys, I know I've been going for 2.5 hours. I didn't intend to go this long. If you guys need to duck out at any time, I'm going to make sure I get to all of these questions. And so if y'all are bored or y'all got better things to do, got to go eat dinner. Megan was going to come on and was like, hey, dude, it's like dinner time. Could we do it next time? I was like, yeah, that's cool. Just do it another day. But yes, I will get to all of those. And Sarcasm again with the 5. She says, imagine the poor men in jail who may be able to hide but not run. Yeah, and then if they are, look, I've heard my clients and their experiences when they're convicted of certain crimes. Imagine being convicted of like a grape falsely, and the ramifications that come with that as it pertains to the prison population. It is not a fun place to be. Your life is literally and figuratively in peril. Physically, it's not a safe space. Moving on, Daily with the 5 says, my question is, why do women like Laura or Amber Heard make claims that this court decision will set back when everybody says stupid shit like that? And then, you know, it's like when you cry every single time somebody asks you a question as a witness, at some point, people are going to start rolling their eyes. It's going to lose its weight. It's just a figure of speech. I'm not a fan of people that say those kinds of things, those figurative, clichéic type statements, because it just means that you don't really have any merit to what you're saying. So they're saying it because they heard other people saying it, not because it means anything. Because I don't agree with Laura Owens that it's going to set women back, although it's going to have a deleterious effect on future claims, because it's going to mean that people are going to look at it with a more prescriptive eye. Is that the word? A watchful eye, to vet out whether or not this lady might be full of shit. So I don't think that that's necessarily setting women back. I think it's just forcing everybody to take a closer look at these allegations on the off chance that somebody might be lying, which I kind of feel like we've been going down that path for a while now.
In theory, you would think that protection orders and whatnot would get an even more presumptive lens because of the seriousness, but judges get this fear that if they do deny that one petition and then something happens, it becomes their fault, even if they don't think that the evidence is there to justify it, which is why it's virtually a rubber stamp.
It really depends on the judge, because there's some judges. Look, the nature of protective orders is this: if you file it, whatever's on that paper that you wrote, if the judge were to find all of those things true and they would grant it, they're going to grant a temporary restraining order. And judges are a mixed bag when it comes to how hard it is to get them to grant a permanent restraining order, meaning for any length of time, on its merits after evidence has been heard. There's some judges that is really difficult, that they smell bullshit. I'm not granting your order. This should have never been brought. You guys just needed to cool off. I'm not granting this. I'll tell you what, I'm putting this out for 90 days. And if you still think you need it, then I'll consider it. But after 90 days, I'm going to dismiss. And there's others like, all right, well, you're scared, so I'm going to grant it, which is kind of what happened to, I think, Maricini. Well, I think she's scared. I think she's scared. She says she is. So I'm just going to grant this renewal. And it has the effect of, well, this effing guy has to live with a restraining order on his background if he ever needs to do anything. And everyone's going to see that. And I guess they're trying to be more safe than sorry. Who knows? But that's where they're going. So public juice, pickle juice justice. I love Omar's law, knowledge, and alpha energy. I don't think I have alpha energy.
Everybody's hitting on you.
Somebody said on the last chat that I should start at OnlyFans. Like, if I did an OnlyFans, I would like read, I don't know, The Art of War alongside my Mr.
Let's put it this way. I will subscribe to that as long as you promise to stay clothed.
I will be fully clothed.
Okay.
You should come to some of my dramatic readings there, Omar, because I get ladies that are like, if you go read a sultry novel, I will be there and listening for every piece of that.
If you invite me, I will be there in my Hugh Hefner robe with a cigar and a whiskey or something. That would be the content. Nobody would buy that shit. I would have the least selling OnlyFans in history.
I doubt that. People are weird.
It says, reminds me of the BDE Woodnick brings. What's the BDE?
Big dick energy. Yeah.
Dongus sit down in the weak man section. Oh, the effete penis. You know, David Neal has nicknamed me the tilted scrotum, or the tilted
what?
erection.
I missed that.
Tilted erection, I think, is the term.
He said both. and you know, I thought they were both hilarious. I feel like I want to nickname Gingras the effete penis. The effete dingus. Whatever you want to call it. Also, you know, I'll let everybody else have fun with that. I shouldn't be making those kinds of assertions. But, you know, neither here nor there. The Iron Rabbit says, I heard there was another victim possibly named Matt. He didn't come forward. I heard about that too. What's the deal with this guy named Matt? Does anybody know?
He's victim 0 or victim 1, depending on if you count by 0 or not. But he
the
would
ground
be
zero guy?
He would be the first one who was never fully named until Dingus didn't send or redact one of his documents, so his name was put out there. But supposedly he was a former Notre Dame quarterback, got into the fintech industry out in California, and ended up meeting her. But those records are sealed, and he vehemently does not want to talk about anything to do with her.
I respect that, man.
Hmm.
If he doesn't want to relive that part of his life, I totally respect that. So
Because
I feel like I
anything,
know who it is. I'm not going to name him if he's redacted, but I feel like I know who that is.
yeah, I
well,
just think
it's
that guy should be entitled to his piece. You know, he went through
Yeah.
enough with her probably. So
look in the
Yeah.
private chat, Omar. It's
Oh, let me see. Yep, that's the guy. That's
yeah.
exactly who I was. Yep, that is him. That is him.
So
Um, yeah.
any attempts to contact him were met with various cease and desist letters from a legal group. So they were like, "Yep, we're just not gonna attempt to bring him into this," and we continued to use, victim 0, victim 1, or the unfortunate thing is that his initials are similar to another one, so it can get confusing when discussing things.
Yeah. They also didn't really need him for purposes of this case. If he wanted to pursue something, I'd imagine he may have grounds. I guess I would wonder about statutes of limitations with him, depending on how far back we're going.
I
But
mean, Maricini's 2016, so even further back than that. I think 2014 is what we're talking about in terms of timeline.
but the problem with Maricini is he's still got an active restraining order, which makes any statute of limitations argument moot because he's still being affected by it, prejudiced by it. I don't know if this other guy is. And so I guess we'll see.
she said, I mean, and she likes to exaggerate, and she said 3. So I'm assuming she means Clayton, Mike, and Greg. So I'm assuming she means the other guy she doesn't have one on the other guy, but that's just an assumption. So
Yeah. All right. Iron, was I on Iron Rabbit? I heard.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the one I just did. Robin Chang. By the way, Robin Chang, thank you for the $2. I have a episode coming up with Robin. I'm doing another story tomorrow morning involving another case, Michaela. What's her name? It's up on my scheduled live streams. I'm doing a case with Avita Tolu. She is bringing a wrongful death action against people in Missouri for this case involving Michaela and Michaela Ann Haynes. There it is. I'm doing that tomorrow morning with Avita, and this other Robin Chang has a similar story to tell. Very soon, maybe tomorrow or maybe next week. Me and her are going to be doing a live to tell her story, to expose certain things that have been going on up in her neck of the woods. And so look out for that. But thanks, Robin, for the shout out there. I'd read your comment, but you don't have one. You just have a a thank you from way over here. Mindy Mouse, I like that. At what point does DG get held accountable for knowingly continuing with lies? I think that he's crossing a lot of thresholds that I would be severely uncomfortable with crossing professionally as an attorney. And I don't know at what extent somebody's going to hold him accountable, but I would not proceed the way that he's proceeding, but to each his own. But I think that he's towing a very dangerous line. Most concerning to me is witness tampering.
So a number of people have mentioned bar complaints based on his actions, and they said, who do we email in order to get a bar complaint sent? And I've told the community at large, and I've said, no, this is not a spot where mass mailing in bar complaints is going to help. You need well thought out, well researched, supported by evidence, to be written by either an attorney or someone of legal prowess to be able to bring those forward in order for something to be properly investigated and adjudicated.
The most effective referral would come from a judge. For example, if Judge Mata had the opinion that she witnessed or observed that Gingras appeared to be intimidating potential witnesses in her trial, she could refer that to the state bar for possible adjudication. But short of her doing something like that, I don't think anything's affirmatively going to happen. I don't think that you're going to sign like a petition with like 100,000 names on it and say, hey, look into the conduct of this guy. Maybe that would be effective. I doubt it. But more realistically, it's got to come from somebody within that community, a referral specifically from them, citing something that they think is going on with exactly how you said, Brad, with hard facts and evidence to make anything remotely close to that happening. So, but yeah, I would not. I'm not saying I'd be worried if I was Gingras, but he needs to be careful because he's pushing it. Effupagus. With the
Oh,
two.
I get it now. Okay.
Replace snuffle from snufflepagus with Efi.
No,
Snuffleupagus.
Epiopagus. Yeah.
Oh, Effiupagus.
Yeah.
Effiupagus. I like that. I'm totally not gonna remember that. I guarantee you I'm gonna call Laura again at some point in the future.
How dare you?
I can't help it, man. My brain is malfunctioning when it comes to names.
Don't worry about it, dude. It's fine.
All right. Helena Henbasket says, as a reformed pathological liar, I can confidently say LO has been lying since she can start forming sentences. What do you think about that, Lauren, about these pathological liars and having it start from childhood and just never developing the muscle to tell the truth?
I mean, that's hard because I think when we're kids, all of us have lied about things, you know, like, but when you start to get older, like middle school, high school, stuff like that, if you're still persistently lying and like, especially if no one's giving you any consequences, yeah, I believe that that's the thing. And it's like something if you do that and you continue into adulthood and nobody's stopping you and you have all these means to like support your lies, like all this money, like stuff like that, yeah, I think it'd be a real problem.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with, man. How do you fix it though? If you're a pathological liar, how do you fix it? Like, how do you reform yourself?
You have to
Like,
be one of the rare few that really want to do better.
So it starts with some acknowledgement.
You gotta have a reason to want to do better, and then you gotta like actually do it. So
How about that? Your actions have got you referred to the Maricopa County District Attorney.
you would think that would be enough, but if you are 34 years old and you've gone to court a million times and gotten away with it, then maybe not.
I think when it comes to kids, the punishment has to last longer than your willingness to want to continue it. Because if you get grounded for a day, 3 days, a week, then the kid just has to wait it out. It has to be something where you are, in this case, it could be 5 or 10 years in jail where you have to really evaluate, oh, this isn't something that's just going to blow over. This is something that's really going to affect me, and I now have to deal with this consequence.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess she's got to hit some kind of a rock bottom. Are we going with that cliche? Maybe. And maybe this is it. She just got her ass kicked in trial. She's not going to get anywhere with this appeal. And she's facing real prosecution.
I don't think she's there yet. I don't think
Well,
this is bottom.
It's kind of her problem, you know?
Mhm.
This is her problem. We're dealing with victims here, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So let me finish these off. Starcasm again. Thank you so much for the 5 Starcasm with like the multiple supers. She's also one of my mods, one of the best. I meant if LO ends up in prison, the poor men. I meant if LO ends up. What was her first thing she said?
If she goes into prison, then the poor guys are going to be around him. But when prisons are gender specific for a reason.
Oh yeah.
So that's not even going to be an issue.
Well, she's going to be dealing with the women over there. She's going to have to switch teams, I think. Well, you know, I guess whoever. I don't know, man. I don't even want to get across those boundaries and talk about that. But I could tell you that 100% she's not going to a male-populated prison. Okay. Dog Tamer says being 100% on her side does not mean that he believed her. That's true. He didn't specify that, right? He's gaslighting king.
He did say if she lied that he would stop representing her, so.
But he already said that he is acknowledged that she's lied and it was a stupid thing to do and he's representing her anyway.
Okay, well, I have no excuse for this man.
The way that he bloweth hards on his blog and whatnot does not lead me to believe that he internally thinks it's bullshit. Because the problem is he's fighting as hard as her mouthpiece to try and convince the public who already believes that she's not credible and is lying and doing all of this stuff intentionally. But he's trying to rub against the grain so hard, it doesn't lead me to believe that internally he's like, oh yeah, this is bullshit.
The problem with that, Brad, is that, you know, I'm an attorney too, and I read some of the stuff that he is writing, and if I had to argue that in court, I would be embarrassed. It just doesn't make any logical, legal sense, the things that he's putting out there. And so I cannot believe that he's a 20-year practicing attorney, high profile attorney, illustrious career, and he actually believes this shit. I just cannot believe it. I think there's something much more sinister at play, and I think that he's stringing Laura Owens along, selling her on lies and collecting the paycheck and effing off to Italy.
Yeah.
That's what I think is going on.
That's right.
But if it's indeed the case that he's got some internal beef, some kind of internal conflict where he can no longer make sense of the law, then perhaps it's time to hang him up. I just don't believe it. He's not that dumb of a guy. He appears to be objectively intelligent. It's just a big put on me.
He already made the argument. He says it would be the worst thing for Laura to switch attorneys right now to going into an appeal because it would take another 4 months to get them spun up on everything to then try and make briefs. So at least in that regards, I can understand it. But we're talking about a guy who's been on the case for over 3 months and then at trial says, oh, well, that's before my time. I don't know about it. Right. When it was his ethical obligation to understand the entirety of the action and then still makes claims that it was before my time, I don't know.
You have to understand, too, like, as a lawyer looking at this case, 99% of what is out there that has been talked about on these live streams, on the JCS crew, on the Reddit episodes, and all the stuff that's been floating around, all of the AI songs, 99% of it is 100% irrelevant. There's very specific issues that needed to be discussed at trial. Gingras had a duty to present evidence that would make Laura Owens credible, and he couldn't do it. And he's continuing to say that, oh, I have all this evidence, but he didn't show any of it. And so it doesn't matter. Look, get another attorney. Let him take a crack at it because he didn't find any. He might as well. Look, the appellate record is set. I don't think it makes a difference one way or another whether or not Gingras is the one that advances the appeal or some other attorney. They got the same facts. Maybe they will find the one missing piece of evidence, the Los Angeles ultrasound, that will prove Laura Owens reasonably believes she was pregnant. It's just they're relying on evidence that doesn't exist. They're trying to sell this story that this evidence exists, and it doesn't. So I don't care who brings the appeal. It's going to get shot down. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. Okay, so Winks, what's up, Winks? With the 10, she says, some people would like to know what is the best way to contact you where you will see the messages. As always, thanks for continuing the story. The messages in the chat, I think I should just go over to the Jesus with all of these chats. Hey, Rendery, what's up, man? You know what, maybe I should, I apologize, I've been like on the there's a starred messages tab and a live messages tab, and I've been on the starred for a long time because all of you guys have been flooding with the super chats, and thank you so much for that. I've been going through them one by one, and so I haven't been in the live, but I'm in the live now. But I still got 2 more super chats to get to. But Rendery, I have to acknowledge. She says, I got on the case way later than Gingras and probably know more about the lies that Gingras claims to not know. Yeah, Rendery is a really sharp young lady. I volunteered her to be one of my mods. I hope you don't mind, Rendery. But you're in now. You're officially blue lettered.
You've been conscripted. Congratulations. Yes,
you have been motioned to be a conscription. Let's go with that. You've been motioned to be a mod. But yeah, she's one of my favorites. Winks said, "Oh, I promise you, Winks, I'm going to get to the live chats right now. I just got to get to these super chats because they threw money at the show, and I can't not acknowledge them. It would be wholly rude of me to do that. Helena and handbasket. Hell no. Hell and no. Hell and no handbasket. I love how everybody's giving me the what do you call the euphemisms? The word. How you pronounce it?
Enunciation? No, not enunciation.
The enunciation instruction. Let's go with that.
The phonetics?
Yeah, there you go.
Enunciation. Because of my proclivity for mispronouncing everybody's name. It was public embarrassment and ridicule that cured and fixed my lying. Yeah, I'd imagine. That's what it takes. But Laura's had plenty of that, and here we are. So let me get to some of these others. So Jules says, Oh, Rendry says my other tinfoil hat conspiracy that Laura is just using Gingras as a figurehead and she's the one actually writing all the motions. Nah, there's no way. I don't buy that one for a second, Rendry. I think that Laura Owens is beholden to Gingras's cell job, and that's what he's doing. Oh, I was trying to get Jules up here. Oh, did I? There it is. Jules is yelling at me. She says the tilted question from Aksafe is Gingras accusing Mata of judicial misconduct or judicial bribery? I think he's low-key accusing her of both. He's obviously accusing her of judicial misconduct, and he's alluding to he didn't ever allude to bribery. I'll be clear. I think he's just alluding to her crossing judicial lines that would lead to a potential mistrial, but he's not identifying specifically what it is. But maybe.
Because here's the thing: it's an evidentiary hearing, which gives slightly different standards for how things go, and then even if he was to successfully put forward a motion to go to the head commissioner of the Superior Court, then he would have to go back in front of a trial with all the same facts and then try and re-argue his bad point. So it really doesn't serve him any better.
I could just tell you that I think that the way Gingras is going to approach his appeal is as many attorneys do, we're going to throw a bunch of shit on the wall and hope that everything sticks. It's like when you're responding to a civil complaint. Here are my 27 whatever defenses, and all of them are bullshit, but maybe one of them will work. But if you don't plead them, then you don't get to use them again.
It was funny watching the motion to strike on Mike Maricini and Greg Gillespie, because he literally, it seemed like he just picked every single objection he could. Untimely, it has no bearance on evidence. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, form a solid opinion. Don't just try and pick everything and hope one hits.
But then it was like they were so bad. Not only had the judge already ruled on those issues, but then he tried to say, I was surprised that this witness was going to be here because some other attorney who's not involved in this case told me he wasn't going to be here. And so what do you know? He's here. I'm surprised. It's like, you dumbass. He's on the witness list. You know exactly what he's going to testify to if he testifies at all, because there's no time. What are you going to? Oh, there are male guards. 88 Cam says there are male guards. Yeah, that is a thing. Did I tell you guys? Well, I don't think I told you guys, but I mentioned on a stream how I went to a. Look, this is going to be super cringe if you guys are sensitive. This is kind of a gross, a dirty story, but I went to a prison, and all female. Brad is like,
clutching my pearls.
His Brad and his fear.
Lord have mercy.
I went to a prison to do a jail visit with a female client that was 5150. It was a competency hearing. I went to go talk to her about her case. And in the midst of her, she was totally malingering some kind of a mental illness, like pretending like she was crazy for the court. But when I got there, she straight up, while she was shackled, stripped down and started, I don't even know if I could say the word.
Gyrating herself?
Yeah. Manually manipulating herself in her nether regions. And I was like, hey, guard, I think that
this interview's over. She's not done.
Oh, it was yeah, you never know with those male judges. Although I feel like that's more prevalent with female guards at the male prisons. At least I heard more of those stories than the opposite. But I don't know all the stories. Jennifer C says, maybe Dingus is planning to use the LO case to write a best-selling novel, sell the screenplay, and retire off the profits. Maybe.
I don't know how you do it, though.
Well, I think if he writes a book that people are going to consume it, and I think the people that will consume it are those that have a strong dislike for him, maybe.
So that's like everyone.
Yeah. And so he might be playing 4D chess with everybody, and this might be his big retirement plan because he knows he's going to be out within the next 2 to 3 to 5 years or so.
The problem is to try and sell her story as the person who was abused by the judicial system, it's really, in my opinion, only going to sell to a deeply feminist audience that doesn't know anything about the case.
Well, Brad, let me sell you the book. All right. This is F. What's his first name?
David?
Dad. This is David Gingras After Dark. Come have a drink with me as I tell you all of my real thoughts about what I thought was going on with the Laura Owens trial and the unadulterated conversations and my internal dialogue and what I really thought of her story and my opinions of her legal arguments. Maybe it's something like that. It'd be akin to like, hey, I'm O.J. Simpson, and this is how I would have done it if I would have actually done it. That regrettable book that he wrote, R.I.P., The Juice.
I've always heard that your ethical obligation to your client maintains even well after the case is finished. So could you break the confidentiality after?
You can't break confidentiality, but there have been plenty of attorneys that have written about the cases they have been involved on and not violated privilege. They just simply talked about what happened at trial and just basically gave a narrative, kind of similar to what he's doing right now in his blog post.
Hey, Omar, could you mod me real quick?
What does that mean, mod?
Make me a mod.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I need to get rid of something.
All right.
Thank you.
How do I make you a mod?
You have to go to the YouTube page, I think.
Studio and...
Okay, make a comment and then I will mod you.
Yeah, do
Okay.
that. That's easy.
I gotta go into my live right now and do that. Make sure this is muted.
Okay.
Hell. Hey, the little heart thing is getting in the way.
I can make more comments. Hang on, let me move up. La 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 la.
There we go. All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Did that do the trick?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
I have to put someone in timeout.
You're paying more attention to the chats than I am, regrettably. I admit to my lack of comments proclivity. Let me read some more of this stuff. Did that help, Lauren? Oh, hope it wasn't my comment that is getting yeeted. Was it this guy, Jerry Mitchell?
Yeeted?
It was your fault, Jerry. How dare you?
Not Jerry. No, the person in question is timed out for at least 24 hours. So.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Other stuff. Thank you, Lauren. Got her. I think we had an imposter. I was literally doing that. Oh. Y'all are gonna have to tell me in the private chats what was actually going on because I completely missed it.
Okay.
You're good.
Hey, Pickle Juice says, isn't Robert Chang the one who threatened Jan? How TF did she getting hold of Omar? I don't know.
I haven't heard of that.
Who Jan is? Who is Jan?
Laura's mother.
Oh, no. I believe there was a story with respect to Laura Owens' mom and Chang's mom, as I've heard. I don't know specifically what happened. I don't know if that's true or not. So I'm going to reserve comments until I get further information. So if anybody knows about that, just let me know in the DMs or whatever. But I don't believe that Robin Chang had threatened anybody that I know of. So that's where I'm going to go with that. Sarcasm says, Lauren, thank you. I was not looking for a few minutes. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Was somebody trying to like sell inappropriate pictures or something?
No, they were just trying to troll. No worries.
Oh, okay. Well, trolling. I guess
fun trolling. There's fun trolling and there's mean trolling. Be a fun troll.
Be a mean troll. Fun trolls are cool. Mean trolls are not allowed. Yeah. Peaches says, wearing a tinfoil hat, but will reveal JD had hard falls on her horses that knocked her out. Makes me wonder, CTE? Does it feel like CTE, Lauren?
That's not really like a psych thing. So like there's a difference. Like it has like it can manifest in similar ways into like kind of like impulsive behaviors and like inappropriate responses and stuff like that. But it's not really a psych thing, so I don't really speak to that or like TBI or anything like that. Like I try not to kind of overextend my reach in like my experience, so I couldn't really say.
Okay, fair enough. I couldn't really say either, so I will not. How's that? He has another one. Oh, that's the one I already read. Okay, so I have successfully dealt with those. All right, folks, I've been going for like 3 hours now, and if I don't go home soon, my wife is gonna think I got a girlfriend or something.
Yeah, I thought this was. It's me, the like very lesbian, obviously lesbian person. Just show her my picture. We'll be fine.
when I was dating her, I told her that I was going out with my lesbian friend, and she's like, "Yeah, right." Like your lesbian friend, because I took her to like a restaurant. It was like one of my best friends from high school, like a stone cold lesbian, like the whole get up and everything. Like she looked like a boy because she wanted to. And then I showed her a picture, and she's like, "All right."
Just tell her I wear a carabiner or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You were working overtime so that you could take her on the nice dinner this weekend.
Well, I'm hoping that this live is a sufficient alibi. So maybe that'll work. MG Law is back in the chat, but now I got to run. I motioned MG Law if I could wear a fedora like he does, but I feel like I can't pull it off. The fedora look? I feel like you got to have a specific kind of beard, and mine is just not.
I feel like that's a poll you need to take, though.
If I should wear a fedora?
An example. Yeah.
I think it's more of a taxi driver's cap than a fedora.
Oh, I was thinking more Peaky Blinders, which is a show I've never watched, but whenever I think of fedoras, I think of that show with that guy.
Flat cap.
I don't know, man. But MG Law sells it and made me want to get a fedora. But, you know, if some guys wear it, it kind of makes you look like a big douchebag. And so maybe I'll put up a poll.
My dad wears a hat like that, and he's really nice.
Yeah, but if you're a dad, I feel like you're exempt from those rules. Yeah. I don't have that rule. I'm wearing my fedora anyway. F you.
Omar, you're such a good-looking dude. I think if you add a fedora, you're gonna look fine, and you've already got a thirsty chat. They're gonna become even more thirsty if you put a fedora on.
A fedora with a Hugh Hefner robe. That will be my OnlyFans. How about that?
Next time Omar has me on, I'm wearing a cowboy hat.
Oh boy. All right, folks. I really got to go, man. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on, Lauren and Brad. You guys are awesome. Sure. I've been wanting to do that for a long time. I thought that Lauren, man, I got like a DM saying, "Hey, call Lauren." And they gave me her text, and I felt like all shy about it. It's like, should I like just text her out of the blue? Like, hey, I'm Omar, the Tilted Lawyer. I just got someone to say reach out to you. If you think this is weird, then you could tell me to F off. It's cool.
Yeah, you followed up with the apology like really quick, just in case. Oh, sorry for messaging you directly. I was like, I should troll this guy, but I'm not going to. Be like, who is this?
It was cool, man. But anyway, I really do got to go. All right, for real this time.
Yep.
All right,
see you.
It's been a pleasure. You guys have fun.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.